Testing, okay, here we go. Audio is now somewhat working. Slightly different setup today. Maybe this background color is a little too intense. Let me try something a little lower key than this. Something that doesn't look quite so garish. And let me put up the comments as well. Comments. Okay, no one's online, but that's fine. So as I'm waiting for anyone to show up, we'll just try to fix this. I don't want something so crazy looking. How about this? And to complement that, we'll get some additional brightness. There we go. I have a slightly different lighting setup today. A little softer, and instead of my usual hoodie, I decided to put on an actual shirt and pick the most garish colors I could think of. So I have it's not lime green, but it's not too far off either. It's a very bright green t-shirt and a shirt that I think has the color, is a lilac. I think that's what this is. So, okay, a little bit of color to start the morning with. Okay, last night, I see one person liked the video. So last night, oops, you know what? The microphone was down here. So let me put it up a little bit higher and do my classic tape job. 1 second. To add to the garish color, now I have this. Not doing a good job of this either. I need to find a better solution for this. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to tone down a little bit of the volume because I think it's like maybe just peaking a bit too much. This should be better. It shouldn't be getting quite as high. Okay. Anyway, if anyone's here, thank you for joining. I published last night my video on the Intuos Pro 2025. And I just wanted to have an opportunity to talk and answer any questions because I hadn't made a video in a few weeks. And this Intuos Pro 2025 video really has held up every other video because I really wanted to get it out and I wanted to do a thorough job. So it's a long video. It's one of my longest ever, 45 minutes. And it was a real struggle. I will share that. It was a real struggle. Let me tell you why it's so long and just share some of the thinking that went behind it. Number one, Wacom doesn't make new Intuos Pro editions very often. As you know, the last one was 2017. So really there's only one shot to set the tone for a review of these new tablets. And I didn't want to trivialize it. I wanted to take the time, and I thought, I did know there were going to be a lot of questions. Already I had a lot of questions from people. A lot of them were centered around Intuos Pro 2017 versus 2025. And the form factor changed. So lots of questions about how that worked out. And normally, you know, I just talk about the performance of the tablet, and I do touch on ergonomics. So I just wanted to address topics like that I don't normally address. So I just wanted to go deep into what it feel like to use the buttons, what did it feel like to deal with the smaller bezels. So that's why the video is so long. And you can probably notice even in that video how my voice is kind of very tense because I'm just worn out from recording hours and hours of video and editing, which is a real nightmare. And my videos are simple to make compared to others. I rarely am on camera during my videos. It's just PowerPoint slides. And so this PowerPoint ended up being, I think, 250 megabytes because it had so many high resolution images. I took so many photos, and it was just a real challenge to produce this video. I know it's a little bit behind the scenes, but I just wanted to share with you how much effort I put into it. It was a lot of fun, but a lot of work, and it stressed me out. You could hear that in my voice. So I just wanted to share that. But it was worth it because, again, these videos, the chance to do these kind of videos doesn't happen often. How rarely is it that we see a new Intuos Pro from Wacom or a Cintiq Pro? So it's sort of once in a decade you get a chance to do something like this. So I had a couple of thoughts about how we do the session besides having just a normal Q&A. One of the thoughts I had was we could actually, in essence, do a little bit of a watch party and just watch the video, which is weird for me to be watching myself. And if people have questions, they can interrupt and I'll focus in on certain topics, because I did leave a lot of topics out as well. And the other thing I thought is we can do a bit of housekeeping, which is there's some questions people have been having, but they haven't had an opportunity to ask me. So we can answer those questions, whether they're about the Intuos Pro 2025 or not. And then probably there's a little bit of news we can cover. Not too much in the tablet world, but we are seeing new tablets launch. Maybe we'll start off with some news. And any other topics, because it's been a while since I've streamed, and we can stream as we can stay online as long as people need. So let me just bring up the video. Give me a second. And I've got my setup here. I always forget now I have 2 keyboards and 2 mice. And what I'll do is I'll bring up the video and we can watch along and maybe share some comments. I think seeing the video would help spur some comments. Now it always takes me a minute to realize what I'm looking at, because you all don't notice this. There are 2 monitors in front of me, one up here, one down here. And then there's one over here, 2 keyboards. So it takes my mind a second to understand what I'm looking at. And actually there's an iPad in front of me as well, so it's just a lot for me to absorb, on top of all the equipment I need to deal with. Okay, let me just move things bit by bit around. I'm going to open up my iPad in front of me, which I don't think you can see. I'll try to keep track of Discord this way. Okay, and let me just tell my Discord crew I am live now. And I'll close Discord there and I will bring up the review. I know you can't see it quite yet. Just give me a moment. I'm looking at the wrong browser, okay. Where is the favorites window? Oh, they call it bookmarks here, huh? Okay. And now I think I can show you at least what I am looking at. I am looking at my demo machine. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then we'll take a look at the video, which was notes on Wacom Intuos Pro. And, just as I've mentioned all the time, I really don't consider myself a reviewer of tablets. These are called my notes. And the reason I say that is I don't necessarily want to limit myself to what a review would be. And the second thing is, I also don't want to imply that I'll be reviewing every tablet. I did a lot around Christmas, and I'll do a lot more soon, but that was just because so many people want to buy a tablet. The reason I call them notes is I get to talk about sort of different things. It's less of a promise that it is going to be a review, because sometimes I just talk about the technical performance of things, and I don't really talk about every topic you'd be interested in if you were getting a drawing tablet. So that's why I'm very careful about that terminology, though I slip up sometimes and say the word review as well. So let me open it up. And I don't think you can hear this, so let's see if I can maybe change that. No. Put this. And if you can't hear it, it's okay, because I remember what I said. We can talk about it. Oops.
Want the best pen tablet?
Okay.
Then again, yes.
You should be able to hear my voice through the...
If you already have an Intuos Pro 2017 and want an upgrade, then
the
maybe
audio
watch this video. And
I'm going to tone it down a little bit and pause.
Be compelling for you. And if you...
So yeah, we'll just take a look at, I'll scrub through the timeline. We'll talk about some key things. And again, just if you have questions, or I'd love your opinions, we'll take a look at some of the comments as well. Audio works. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm always nervous about the audio. Thank you. And we can, again, take it in any direction you want. I do these streams for you. And today I just thought it'd be great because I haven't been on in quite a while. Oh, these colors I'm wearing are just crazy, aren't they? Okay, so let me move over to the summary. And I just want to be clear on this topic because it may not have been so obvious in the video. I have always called the Intuos Pro 2017 the best tablet ever made, right? It is so good and I love it. And when I first did the video, I actually had, this slide actually read a little differently. It actually said that the Intuos Pro 2025 was the new best pen tablet ever made. And again, I'm restricting myself only to pen tablets. And I looked at more people's feedback online. I saw Brad Cobo came out with his review, which maybe we'll take a look at as well, because I think there's some interesting things he raises. And I had more time to use it. When I first started the video, I was testing the tablet, but then toward the latter half, as I was making the video, I was actually drawing, or much more than I was before. I was starting off drawing like about an hour or so a day, then it kind of got more and more in the last couple of days. And I started to notice a few issues that weren't as obvious. And so it boils down to this. They're both the best pen tablet ever made. So they're sort of tied, okay? It's a weird situation to be in, but that's the situation we're in. And the reason is pretty simple. The drawing performance hasn't changed. The old one was the best pen tablet ever made in terms of raw drawing performance, and it had all these amazing capabilities, some of which I didn't realize until I got to use the Intuos Pro 2025. As the old song from the 80s goes, and a few of you may remember that, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And that's what I learned as I started using the Intuos Pro 2025. Once things changed, I had a new appreciation for what I used to have. And probably that showed up the most in the bezels. okay? Which that's the biggest addition to the video in the last 24 hours is I spent a lot of time on the bezels. Seems like a trivial thing. I felt it was actually a very important thing, and we'll talk about that. So they're both the best pen tablet ever made, and I think, I said in the video, I'd recommend either one. But I'd recommend either one. Right now, I would probably recommend the 2025, or I do recommend the 2025, and we'll talk about those conditions. But I just want to make sure people know the differences, because some of you will have very strong preferences, and you should know what those preferences are. So, moving forward a little bit, I answered 4 basic questions, which is if this is your first Pro tablet, you can't go wrong. You should certainly buy this one, but you can also buy the 2017. It is the best tablet, so of course you can buy this one or the 2017. Is it an upgrade? Should you upgrade from the 2017? That's a really difficult one. That's not easy to answer, and we'll maybe look at a slide that I had intended to put in the video, but the topic is too complicated. There's so many factors that have to be listed, and they're not all, pressure handling. There are things like driver support, open tablet driver support. Can you buy the texture sheets? We'll get into some of those topics. And then, of course, if you need multi-touch, the 2025 is not the tablet for you. I did not like the multi-touch in the 2017. I disabled it every time. It got in the way. But one thing I discovered by reading through lots of different comments online, some people depended on the multi-touch. I don't know if they loved it, but they definitely depended on it. And they were very irate, to say the least, that Wacom has dropped the support. I myself was surprised that Wacom dropped the support. So this is a weird situation, like a major feature was dropped. Oops. Okay. And, oops, I skipped another video accidentally. So another thing I said is the written notes will be published in May. So when I make these videos, I use a tool called Descript, which really simplifies my life. But everything I have said is transcribed, and I can kind of actually edit the video or edit the audio by just editing text. And so that makes things super convenient. So I'm going to take that transcript and create a document from it. And I'll add a lot to it. So the written document will be much more detailed than this, and it'll touch on every topic, especially questions that people have. We'll address that in the written document. Okay. Now, one of the things that all of us struggled with this one when we first heard, I forgot when it was, it may have even been last year, we heard, I don't know, maybe toward the middle of last year or toward the latter third of last year, we heard, I'll explain what heard means in a second. We heard that the new Intuos Pro 2025 is coming up. We didn't hear it as an announcement. I mentioned many times there's this site, this FCC site. I don't know if the FCC runs it, but it takes publicly available information, and you can see what people are doing. Now, in the case of drawing tablet brands, I guess as part of releasing the products in the United States, they have to file some documents with the FCC. I think that's Federal Communications Commission. And so I think they're testing for things like electromagnetic interference, some other things. So if you're looking at that site, you can find out some interesting things. Now, they don't have the product marketing documentation. They don't have the names of the products. So you have to know the model numbers. And so we found out these tablets were coming. We could tell immediately they were probably Intuos Pros just from the model numbers. But we didn't know what it was going to be like. We didn't know the shape, or at least not very clearly. So for 16 years, we've had this very basic shape, express keys on the left. And when the express keys changed for the Intuos Pro 2025, we were super shocked. Okay. I mean, I posted on Twitter, like, I just don't know how to process these express keys being on top. It's just such a weird thing in my head. And it provoked a lot of strong reaction from people. If anything, I don't think I spent enough time on this topic in my review. So we may talk about that in some extra detail here. It's not for everybody. It really isn't not for everybody. I'm not the best choice to talk about how well it works because although I used them, and I will try to use them more often, I use a TourBox device instead. So, buttons on tablets are not my specialty. And no matter which buttons they are and where they are, I tend to accidentally trigger them. Let's talk about the model number. And then for those of you who are buying the tablets, just be aware, you'll see the model number listed like PTK 670, and there'll be some weird letters afterwards. You can always ignore the letters. The key thing is PTK 670. I think our current understanding is the last two digits, the 0A in this case, tell you the region. And I believe someone told me the first letter indicates the color. And I guess K means black. The red K, not the K from PTK. And it is, of course, very important that you pay attention to the model numbers because it's really easy to buy the wrong tablet because their name, often you'll see them listed as Intuos Pro. Okay, let me make this a little bigger. I just realized I hadn't quite maximized the size. Okay, and the first controversial topic, I think the tablet looks beautiful. It's in front of me, actually. One second.
Very beautiful tablet, very professional, clean, very serious.
You can hear my
looking.
voice talking. Yeah, it looks good to me. Let me.
Lots of people disagree with me on this, but
Damn, I keep clicking on
it's the most beautiful pen.
Where is? There we go. Okay, here it is. And I showed this on my live unboxing, but I just want to. The lighting's a little different now, so it is plain, but I think it looks great. In fact, if you see, by the way, in the video, this may look really, this part where you draw looks really shiny sometimes. That's just an aspect of the strong lights I have. It's not really that shiny. It reflects light more than the top part. But I think it looks good. It certainly feels very different because it's so light and small. In fact, when I got the tablet, I actually thought, I got the box. I actually thought it was the small tablet, not the medium. So I think it looks good, but I have seen a lot of hate for the look. If anything, it is plain. And I really would like if all brands, not just Wacom, started introducing at least some splashes of color. Because, look, I have 80 tablets at this point. And soon, probably by the end of this year, I'll have 90 tablets. That would be my guess. Because a lot of tablets are coming, let me assure you. But when you have 80 or 90 tablets that are all black, you can't see them. Like, it's hard to find them in the room. Most of them are in boxes, but when they're just lying around where I'm testing, I have to really look at them to figure out what I'm trying to find. So I think it looks good. It looks very professional if you're in a design studio. I think it fits very nicely. I don't think there's, I think lots of people will love them, even though I know lots of people hate the look. And another thing is, I'm gonna push this up. There's, at the top, where the buttons are, this top part is, I think it has a speckled texture here. And so it does on the back as well. It looks like more texture than there really is. Like, you won't feel it so much, but it definitely feels rougher than the surface. The drawing surface to your fingers will feel smooth, but it does have texture when you draw. This is the box it came in. I'm not a fan of the way it looks for two reasons. It looks very plain, And number two, I really think if you're gonna, this is obviously for people who are creative, and sure, I guess these floaty lines look creative in some way.
Plain cardboard box.
Oops, I'm not showing you the
Wacom
box.
has been using this kind of packaging for a while
Let me,
to be more environmentally friendly. But
keep
I do
clicking
miss the more colorful.
Okay. So this was the old box, 2017 version. I think it looks pretty good. I think boxes should show some art. And I don't feel bad for saying that, okay? But I understand they want to be environmentally friendly, so it is appreciated that they're taking the effort. But maybe they could have shown some black and white line art or something. Like, it doesn't just have to be, corporate and so generic looking. And let me just open up my Discord to see if anyone has any comments. 1 second. Oh, the mic fell again. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize it fell off. Thank you, though, for noticing. Surprisingly, the audio levels haven't dropped down as much as I thought they would. Let me get back here. Sorry for the... Now I've got 2 pieces of orange tape. I think it's the specific tape I used. That's the problem. Let me know if that happens again. And if it does, I'll use my classic blue tape, which apparently is a better choice for this. Let's see. Okay, and this is what's provided in the box. Nothing special. No one's going to be surprised. And let me just do a quick thank you for the person who told me that. Okay, core specs. I pride myself in not talking about core specs. A lot of reviews do focus on them, but my position is this. I think they're kind of trivialities. How many times have you ever heard me really, when I get a new tablet, have I told you, it's got 8,000 pressure levels and 5,800 lines per inch? Or, I might show it and just briefly mention it, but I don't recite the specs. My position on this has, for a while, maybe forever, has been the specs, they're not meaningless. They're not meaningless, but we've reached equilibrium on the specs. Everyone claims the same specs, and the specs that are changing, pressure levels, aren't making anything better, okay? Let's get to the other ones and we'll get back to pressure levels. Digitizer resolution, 5,800 lines per inch, or 200 lines per millimeter, is a crazy resolution. What that means is, think about a 4K display. Well, the 4K display is what? Something like 3,500 by 2,500 pixels, right? If this resolution is true, 50, 80 lines per inch, you could fit that many, units, that many pixels, so to speak, or that many units of resolution in a single inch on every tablet that's been made. So all tablets have more than enough resolution. So even if a tablet has half of this, I don't care. It's not going to make any difference. Tilt is sort of something we've talked about all the time, but really tilt has not changed in decades. Actually, let me just back up for a second. People don't know this. First of all, every tablet, every EMR drawing tablet has tilt. Now you're probably wondering why I say that, because some clearly do not have tilt. The way tilt works is a byproduct of just how the the pen is located. Like forget pressure, just, oh, hey, there's a question from Dermont. Have I used the Bluetooth switcher? I have not. I'm going to play with Bluetooth this weekend, or maybe today or tomorrow, sometime very soon. I'm not a heavy Bluetooth user. In fact, the few times I've used Bluetooth is really just to, when I'm testing, because it just frees up my desk for not having so many cables. Now you mentioned, Dermont, that, let me put your comment back up there. You don't see much use cases to it. In those occasions I've used Bluetooth, it would not help me, the new features that they've added. But I think it will help some people, and I've seen online some people say it was going to be helpful. For those who don't know, here's the situation. The fundamental Bluetooth has not changed. However, let's go through how you use with the 2017 model Bluetooth. You pair it with the computer, let's say at home, and then if you went to work or wherever, school, you take the tablet with you, you'd have to repair it with that computer. So that repairing process, as everyone knows, it's a pain to do, and also it's, computers are weird, and Windows or Mac, I guess, also can have problems repairing. It's always just kind of this weird issue. So there's lots of tension around repairing. The feature we're talking about is on the tablet, if I can find it, that's right in front of me. You can't see it. There's a little switch. The switch has 3 positions. The first position is used USB, and the other 2 are switched between the Bluetooth pairings. So you're at work, it's paired to your computer. You go home and you just move the button, and you've already paired it previously, so it just switches to your home computer. So that is a nice, convenient feature. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a good thing. But that is the use case for the new Bluetooth feature. Exactly, and also if you have more than one PC and laptop. Now for me, I use the cables because, my phone is around, and even my phone can interfere with the tablet even when it's wired. But I just find that Bluetooth is prone to operating system issues or interference issues, though I've used it many times. And it wouldn't help me so much, but I can totally understand if you're switching between your computer and laptop, it would be a fantastic feature, very convenient. And as I mentioned, this is what I call quality of life features. That's the real change of this tablet. They took a great drawing performance, left it alone, and improved the quality of life. And maybe they damaged the quality of life with the express keys, but in theory, things got better. Let's see. Okay, AX23W4 says, I keep wondering if there's a difference between Bluetooth and wired connection. I've never seen a scientific comparison between data rates. Okay, so you raise a great broad question, and let me see for a second. Give me a pause. I may have some written notes on this topic. Just give me a second.
Haven't changed since the 2017 version.
Oops, we're back with me talking. It's so weird to hear my voice as I'm talking to you. Let's see. Docs, the7pens.com. I did a little bit of research into one of these videos. Oh, I'm typing on the wrong keyboard, okay. You know what? It's not here. It's actually in my channel. And I'll try to show it to you if I can find it quick enough. Let's see. The 7. Every time I see the name of my channel, which is The 7 Pens, I don't know why I added the, but I always, in my head, I sometimes read it, the Sven Pens, as if I'm Swedish or something. Let's see, it's in a video on lag, actually. Not log, but lag. Let's take a look, because I want to do a video on this. Let's see. I think I may have covered it here. I'm going to turn off the audio for a second so you're not freaked out by it. Let me go search again for this lag video. Pointer lag. Anyway, I can't find it, but there's been no formal testing, you're right. Here's what I found, and this is where I'll do a write-up, maybe we'll do a video on it. I found there's a site called ratings.com, like RTINGS.com, and they did mouse click latency, which is the time between me actually clicking the left mouse button and, I think they're doing it with a game, so they see like a gunfire on the screen. And so that's indirectly tells us the speed of the wireless or wired connection. And the results were really interesting. I will say it like this. Wired connections have very low latency. Non-wired connections fall into two categories: Bluetooth and non-Bluetooth. Non-Bluetooth surprised me. I was blown away by this. Lots of non-Bluetooth wireless had as little latency, almost as little latency as wired. Completely blew me away. Bluetooth was interesting. So if wired is here, meaning let's say baseline is 0, wired is here, non-Bluetooth wired is almost at the same place. Bluetooth, and it could be because they're different Bluetooth versions or different implementations, Bluetooth was scattered from here to like 10 times higher. So it really seemed to depend on the specific device and Bluetooth version. But that was the latency. I didn't see any numbers around data transfer. And I don't know how to test it with drawing tablets. So that's another thing I'd love to investigate. Okay, let's take a look on, there's a couple questions. Flame says it's super thin. Yeah, it is incredibly thin. I think that, again, that was one of the things that surprised me. It is, 7 millimeters in the, you can't see it. It's a slight wedge shape. It's 7 millimeters here, 4 millimeters here. The Intuos Pro 8 is like 8 millimeters all the way across. It's not a huge difference, but it does get about half as thin by the bottom, right? Okay, Dermont says, can you change the texture sheet when it's worn out? You can. You can. There are texture sheet options. In fact, you can't see it behind me. I have 3 texture sheets. Okay? Why? And I'll tell you why I have 3 texture sheets in a second. Each one costs $30. So I spent $100 on texture sheets. The Intuos Pro 2017, do I have it with me? Well, it's not next to me. The 2017 has 2 texture sheet sizes, large and medium, not for small, and has 3 texture options. Standard, which is what comes with the tablet, rough, and then smooth. I've never had the occasion to try smooth. You can find rough, but I don't want rough. The standard one is rougher than I would ever want. And they're getting very hard to find. The 2017 has texture sheets for all 3 sizes, but it only has the standard texture. And I think that's okay. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'll, one of the first tests is how does this stand up to abuse, the texture. And I'm not a heavy drawer, but yeah, if you scratch it up, you can replace it pretty easily. And the good thing is it should be a little easier to replace. With the 2017 texture sheet, the texture sheet goes over, it actually includes the top part. It includes the part with the express keys, so they're cutouts. But here the texture sheet's just this area, so it doesn't include the express keys. So it should be a little easier to install. But I can't wait to try it. I'm very curious about it. Okay, where were we? So we're back at the core spec. So yeah, tilt you get for free just by having an EMR pen. It's just a byproduct of how EMR and electromagnetic radiation work and the digitizer sensing things. So every tablet has tilt. What about the tablets that don't have tilt? Am I lying? No. When a tablet doesn't have tilt, the manufacturer has disabled tilt. Because remember, you get tilt for free. Like, there's no extra hardware required to do tilt. You get it for free, so you have to disable it. Now, the disabling could be done in the firmware, possibly. I would bet that the disabling is at least, it would be likely to be done in the driver, because it's easier to change things in the driver than to ship firmware updates or write the firmware in different ways, right? So tablets disable tilt because they want to create different levels of product, not because they're engineered any differently. Which is why I think it's absurd that Wacom's, their One by Wacom and some other models don't have tilt. Because they're trying to create consumer products that aren't as high quality, but it's just enable tilt. Tilt has never been great in any tablet, and that was my point in this discussion, is that how little these specs have changed. For example, the tilt range is about 60%. It's been that way for literally like 30 years, okay? And the tilt range also, this is the part people don't realize. I'll do a video on tilt, and in the tablets I've tested, which is Wacom, you think that it's like, you know, you put the pen up here and you tilt towards 60 degrees, and you'll think you have like, I don't know, 1,000 different levels of tilt. You don't. You have like 60 going on one side. So there's not a lot of, what do you call it, not precision. There's not a lot of fine-grained tilt values. So for example, it'll go from 90 to 89, and you can see the effect. It doesn't go from like 90 to like 89.9. That's something that could change. And the other thing you'll notice is there's a lag for tilt. I think because it's a little bit complex to detect. Report rate is something that I got a lot of questions about from really people in the OSU community. I don't think normal artists talk about it. I will investigate it. I'm going to have to install Open Tablet Driver and check it out. And I think as a result of that, I'll check it out for both wired and wireless cases, if possible. And then let's see, Dermond has a comment. I like interchangeable surface because it extends the lifetime of your tablet. You're exactly right. It does extend the lifetime. And that's why I purchased 3 texture sheets for this thing. So for the 2017, the texture sheets are getting, sometimes they're just not in stock. I mean, for many, many months, you can't find them. I never found a smooth one, but, and it was hardened sometimes in certain sizes. So what I'd honestly recommend you do if you have the 2017 model, buy some texture sheets. Buy 1 or 2 or 3 and just keep them, because you'll need those to extend the lifetime of your tablet, okay? And when that texture sheets are gone, we even have other options, I think, which I'm gonna do a video on texture sheets, and maybe I'll include this in the video, or at least the write-up on should you get the Intuos Pro or 2025 if it's your first Pro tablet. Okay, Albert OG. Never knew about tilt being selectively disabled in the driver. Now, again, the driver disabling is a guess of mine because it's the easiest thing for a manufacturer to do, right? But whether it's in the driver or in the firmware, let's answer your questions. Could it be hacked to enable it somehow? If it's in the driver, then theoretically, because we can use Open Tablet Driver. And this is a test I'll do. If I try, I'll ask the Open Tablet Driver developers, because a couple of them are on my Discord. I'll ask them if the tilt is controlled by the firmware or by the driver. And we'll figure that out. And if we can figure that out, then, it's hard to change the firmware. It's essentially impossible. And everyone who's tried to walk into the Mordor, sorry, that was a Lord of the Rings reference, to walk into the Mordor of firmware, updating the firmware, has bricked their tablet. Dangerous operation. I'm not competent in electronics. I would never even dare to attempt such a thing. But a dangerous operation. But if it's the driver, we've got a chance. Is there any info on large model availability? I recall in one of the threads, maybe in our Discord or the Reddit, that it was going to be available in May. I can't remember exactly which day in May, but I would just guess by the end of May we'll have it. And hey, the second it appears, I will order 1 or 2 of them, okay? I love large tablets. I think they're the best. And by the way, when we get to the bezels, you're gonna see, I think the large tablet may solve my bezel problem. And we'll talk about why. Okay, let's see. Let me get back to the demo. Okay, then we talked about the box and then the pen issue. So we switched pens, no surprise. Back in 2022, the Cintiq Pro switched to the Pro Pen 3 from the Pro Pen 2. The new model number is ACP 500. Oh, I see we have a question. Let's take a top hello. Is the pen higher quality than the Pro Pen 2? More specifically, does the PCB feel like it can get loose as easily as the Pro Pen 3? I have never, I don't think people see the comment. Let me make sure people can see it. I actually have never experienced this problem, top hello, though definitely I've heard people say it. It's too early to tell. Well, let's say it this way, I'll say it differently, because the Pro Pen 3 has been out since the end of 2022. I have not heard of a lot of people complaining about loose PCBs in the Pro Pen 3. However, I think there may be a reason for that. The Pro Pen 3, until literally March, the Pro Pen 3 has only been available with tablets that cost $750 to $3,500. As a result, because those are Cintiq Pros and the $750 one is the Movink. As a result, it is my belief that not many people have Pro Pen 3s compared to, the billions, right? The billions of people with Pro Pen 2s. So as a result, I don't think there are as many people with a Pro Pen 3 and they haven't experienced this problem, or I haven't seen the report. So there's a statistical thing going on. And I just realized you can see all my hand gestures, so you can see how wildly I'm gesticulating. It's gonna take a little bit of time. In my usage of the Pro Pen 3, it's been very solid, like the PCB part. I've never heard any rattling inside because of it. It stayed there, it hasn't moved. But my experience with the Pro Pen 2 has also been very solid in this regard. Now, beyond the PCB, it's a matter of taste. I think, I'll go into it in just a minute. There's something the Pro Pen 3 does which I think it's technically high quality because of the engineering, but the experience is not as good. We'll talk about it in just a second. So the Pro Pen 3 is very modular. It comes with these, actually, let me go back. There's a slide a little bit earlier. Yeah. Pro Pen 3, in summary, is not any better than the Pro Pen 2 in terms of drawing. I measured it very carefully. I have all the numbers to show you. what do people say? I brought all the receipts. It is not, its pressure handling is not any better. I'm sure they might have changed something, but I don't notice any improvement in any way. I did notice a slight change in maximum pressure, which I don't think really matters. And there's a physical improvement for tilt, but other than that, it's all about the customizability. So in that regard, let's take a look at what the changes are. You can change the weight and the grip and the buttons. And the grips, you have three options: no grip and these two different grips. You have the option of, where are we going here? This rod, which you can leave in or put into leave out or put in two different ways. So you can make the pen light or heavy toward one side or heavy toward the other side. It's not super heavy. It's not like, a huge amount of difference, but some people may notice. I like the rod in, and I keep the heavier side toward the nib. Button, I don't know why it says button options. This is actually, this is really about the rod. And this is the quality issue. In order to let the rod in the pen, the top of the pen is unscrewable. It's a cap. And do I have the pen with me? Hang on. I think I may have it somewhere. It's not with me right now. That's okay. You unscrew it, and it's high quality. I think it's metal even. But as I draw, it unscrews. Not a lot, but like, I have developed now a kind of paranoia. Every time I start drawing, I'm going to pretend this is the Pro Pen 3. I pick up the Pro Pen 3, and as I'm preparing to draw, I just, semi-consciously start screwing it back in. And it's never like just fallen off because it's not unscrewed, but sometimes it's gotten pretty loose. Despite the material quality being high, it lessens the experience. That's what I would say. So in that sense, I feel it's a little bit lower quality. Again, materials are great, I don't like that it unscrews so easily. Maybe they could have done something better there. And then finally, you can see there are these they call them button plates. So one of the button plates has 0 buttons, one of them has 3 buttons. And there's 4 plates, 2 pairs, because to use it without any grip, you use one of the pairs, and to use it with a grip, you can use the other 2 pairs, or the other pair. I didn't realize until they released this pen, and I talked to more people, some people don't like the button. Some people prefer not to use buttons. I knew some OC players didn't like to have buttons. You'd see them remove the buttons and cover that with tape so the buttons weren't triggered. But even some artists don't like the buttons. Even I, lately, have started to think whether I should use the 0 buttons option, because oops, this pen almost fell out of my hand. I am an accidental button triggerer. I'm very clumsy. All the time, I'm pressing the button when I don't intend to because my fingers are big and clumsy and fat and they get in the way, okay? So I'm gonna try playing with the 0 button case. And then for me, it'll probably work out okay because I use the toolbox for a lot of things. Okay, and then I think, AX23W4 says, I press the buttons on accident a lot too. See, so I'm not alone in this. Biggest issue is the no eraser part. For me, it's not a super big deal, but hey, some people are eraser enjoyers, more power to them. I don't like the eraser because, let me get a little closer for you. You see this? Okay, this is not the right pen, but let me use the right pen. Pro Pen 2 is right in front of me. It has an eraser up here, okay? And will it? Okay, there we go. I have to hide my face. And I'm drawing happily. And to use the eraser, what do you have to do? Naturally, do this. Most people can do that operation, and it just works. Right? Even I'm able to do it right now. What actually happens 50% of the time when I do this, because I'm clumsy, as I flip, this pen flies out of my hand. Like that. That's what happens when I flip. Like even if I'm not throwing it, but like if I do this, it gets out of my hand. So I avoid using the eraser. The other thing, so that's true, that does happen. The other thing for me is, if I'm drawing and I want to erase, and where do I want to erase? I want to erase the thing I just drew, okay? If I flip, I have to reposition the pen. Now on a pen display, it's probably not so bad, but on a pen tablet, you don't exactly know where the pen should be because you're looking at the monitor, not the tablet. And there's no indication of the tablet where the pen should be. So if I flip on the eraser, I have to it takes me a second to re-navigate to where I need to erase. I find that disruptive. That's why I'm not a big eraser user. Anyway, unfortunately, okay, so I'll just tell you my theories on why we don't have an eraser. Number one, there's no way to have an eraser and have this removable cap and a weight. So that itself means we can't have an eraser, or at least not easily. Number two, lower manufacturing costs. This is probably my biggest disappointment with this pen. Let me move forward a little bit. We'll get back to tilt. Let me get to the slide. Anyway, I will find the slide. Pro Pen 2 costs $80. Pro Pen 3 costs $130. So for $130, you get some customization improvements. You lost an eraser, and you lost, what else did you lose? And you lost an eraser. Was it worth it? Questionable. And the pen should be cheaper for them to make because there's no PCB here for the eraser. And just so you know, you see this part here, there's some PCB here, printed circuit board. For those of you who aren't familiar with electronics, which I am not really, that's the brains and the guts of the little electronics that talk, that sense tilt. Oh, sorry, sense pressure, not tilt. And let's just say it's what it is, right? To do the eraser requires the same stuff. So the eraser part is just as complex as the drawing part. Okay, so it's now I don't even think it saved them that much money, to be honest. But it's weird to be charged more for a pen that does less, right? Wasn't a big fan of that. Top left. Seeing the pen flying around made my heart skip a bit. Hey, I actually was a little scared for a second because I tried to throw it, but I thought I was going to drop it. And by the way, I'm not exaggerating about how far. This actually happened at work. Now the wall behind me must be 10 feet, okay? At work, this is in the 90s, by the way, on a Wacom tablet, the Wacom Intuos Pro. I was drawing, and I don't know what I did. I wasn't sneezing, I wasn't doing anything, with my body otherwise. I was just drawing, and I was changing my position of my hand, maybe to use the eraser. I swear to you, just by sitting there with my hand not going anywhere, that pen flipped and hit the wall behind me. How I managed to do that is a complete mystery, but yeah, it was a little bit of a, that's what happens to me because I'm very clumsy. Okay, let's get to the pen and let's see what I want to talk about. Oh yeah, so they improved tilt. What do they improve? They didn't change how tilt works at all. With the Pro Pen 2, you get this sort of bigger angles, wider angle toward the tip. Pro Pen 3 has a thinner angle. And if you lay them across each other, you'll really notice that this thing is definitely, there's more of an acute angle. Now, if you're a tilt user and you try to use the tilt to the extreme, yeah, the old Pro Pen 2 body would get you in your way toward the end, I guess. But this lets you get a little bit lower on the tilt, right? So that is a convenience feature, but it didn't really affect my drawing. Though you might notice it, again, at very extreme angles. But I never notice. I don't use tilt in the extreme. Okay, Nizio has a comment. I think pen tablets have reached a natural peak. They should be focused on implementing stuff like haptic feedback rather, and keep refining something that has remained pretty much the same. Hey, I'm so happy you raised this topic. I think your topic is actually true of even more than pens, Nizio. Tablets are reaching a natural peak, okay? I'm always thinking back to some line I heard about sharks, right? I don't know if it's true. I'm not a biologist. But the statement you'll often hear or read on, maybe it's an exaggeration, is sharks and some other animals, maybe crocodiles, they've reached the pinnacle of their evolution. They're perfect. Sharks are, I don't know, great white shark. Apex, perfect predator. There's no reason for it to evolve or change because it's the best at what it can do given the constraints of, physics and biology. And it can't get any better. There's no reason, there's nothing demanding it get better. There's nothing challenging it, right? And I think we're sort of in that same place with tablets and pens. We're at the peak in a lot of ways. Yeah, things could get better in the sense that, hey, tilt could work a little bit better, but it's not a fundamental change, right? And let's compare Wacom to non-Wacom tablets. I've said this many times, within one, probably two technology generations, unless you've got like a tunneling electron microscope and a PhD, you will not be able to figure out the difference in sort of technical quality between a Huion XP pen and Wacom. And even then the difference will be incredibly slight. And so everyone is racing. The industry is, I believe, converging to a great fundamental drawing performance. And Huion will get there, XP pen will get there. This poses, so now I'm going on a rant about the industry. And this is going to pose a challenge because Wacom makes a lot of money off of professionals, but increasingly, I think people are still very Wacom loyal. Hey, I'm a Wacom loyalist. Like I support them I've used them for 30 something years, or 30 years. But I can't help but think that not too long from now, again, one or two technology generations. So technology generation doesn't mean like human generation. It means like Huion's on Pentec 4.0. Maybe by Pentec 5.0 or 6.0, it's going to be entirely equivalent. And there are business forces at work which we think might cause this to happen. So when everything comes to be the same, drawing performance will be a commodity feature. Everyone will have it. Can't differentiate on it. How will Wacom differentiate? I love the brand, but hang on, I have to put this. Now, I love going on tablet rants, You see it says Intuos Pro, right? And on the you can't see it very clearly, but here it says Wacom. This tablet costs, what, $300 something? I actually forgot how much. What's Wacom going to do? Make this tablet even more expensive? I don't, adding Intuos Pro or something Pro and Wacom to a tablet has a limited ability to drive the price, to maintain a price premium. So they've got to do the thing that's hardest for any company, which is innovate. I've had my suggestions, and Huion's going to get to the same place. I mean, How are they going to differentiate from XP Pen once XP Pen catches up to their pen technology? I think there are things companies can differentiate on. I'll just name some of them here. You know, I love the TourBox as an input device. I think they should innovate there. I'd love to see XP Pen and Huion and Wacom try auxiliary input devices that stretch the boundaries of what we consider the creative experience. I know this is going to sound lame when I say it, but I'll say it. I'd really like some RGB lighting on tablets too. Not because it's useful, not because I want to see rainbows everywhere, which I guess some people do, but I work in a very dark room. This is not even, this is very well lit. I work in a very dark room, and I can't see the tablet. I can't see a lot of things on my desk very easily, so I'd like a little bit of light on tablets to show you, to help me see the tablet. And you know what? I saw actually a video of someone who modified a tablet, a Wacom tablet. They changed the body and they added RGB lighting to it. I'll see if I can find the video later in the stream. So yeah, we've reached a pinnacle. Things have got to get better. And let's see a few more comments. Because Nizio had a few more things out. He said, haptic feedback. Yes, look, try it. I used the haptic feedback with one of the Microsoft Surface Pens. Didn't do much for me, but take a look at the Apple Pencil. They added barrel roll. That needs to come back to Wacom pens, and Huion and XP Pen should add that if possible. So barrel roll, that's back in business. Number two, the Apple Pen has a Find Me feature. Guess what? The Apple Pencil costs $130. This is the Pro Pen 2, but just pretend it's the Pro Pen 3. Or it's the Pro Pen 2, it doesn't matter. $80, $130. Do you know how easy it is to lose a little rod that is black somewhere? I have lost so many Pro Pen 2s. And I have dreamt of, going to my phone and clicking a button and this thing starts beeping, right? That's a useful feature for us to have. That would help me, right, in practical situations. It's happened. I've lost my Pro Pen 2s while traveling because I stupidly thought I wanted to sketch while traveling, went on my vacations, never sketched, and lost my pen. So that was awful. So lots of things they can do, right? Yes, AX23W4, a very local maximum right now. What I'm curious about is what Wacom is cooking in terms of Android tablet. Yeah, I am super curious, and definitely I will get it. I think is it an 11-inch or 13-inch? I can't remember. Let me check my Discord to see if there's any comments. I think it's an 11-inch tablet, but I would love to see a 13-inch. Hell, I would love to see a 16-inch. The other thing is the cost. If Wacom sells an Android tablet, what does the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE stand for? Which is one of my favorite standalones. $400, $450? If you put the Wacom brand on it, what's it going to cost? $1,000? So that's scary, right? But I'll definitely get the tablet. Let me get some water. My voice is cracking. Nizio says, I think since the grip pen, they have made drawing feel differently, but not necessarily better. The grip pen is more consistent than the Pro Pen 2 or Pro Pen 1, for example. Not sure about the Pro Pen 3. Well, Nizio, I have measured the grip pen. I have 3 of them, and it also has very consistent pressure response, though it doesn't go as high in terms of pressure as the Pro Pen 3. The grip pen tops out at about 400 gram force for its maximum pressure. Pro Pen 3 is like 700 to 800. So, and you'll notice that, but that is a lot of pressure. Pro Pen 3 is 600 to 700, which we'll see in just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, barrel rotation, right? We talked about this. By the way, You know, the Apple Pencil, what is this thing? Let me move this out of the way, it looks so silly. The Apple Pencil calls this feature barrel roll, which really bothers me because I'm really interested in aviation, even though I never fly. And just to me, every time they say barrel roll, I think of an airplane doing a barrel roll. And I'm not sure how they got this terminology. I've never seen it used for pens. As far as I know, it's always been called barrel rotation. So I stick to this phrase. Anyway, Apple Pencil added it. Pro Pen 3 did not add it. A lot of us expected the Pro Pen 2 to have barrel rotation. Did not. You can still use the old art pen. However, on eBay, super hard to find, super expensive. I was fortunate when I realized production was dying out or stopping for the art pen. First thing I did is go to eBay, and I think I bought 2 art pens, right? So I have 3 art pens total that all work, and eventually and I'm going to be very careful with them, but eventually they may break. So they should reintroduce barrel rotation. I suspect the reason they don't is twofold. Number one, it's more expensive. I had someone, maybe it was Tablet Expert Cube, he showed me a picture of one of the art pens, not this one, but maybe an older one. And this is so weird. I don't know how to explain this, but I'll use pens as an example, okay? I'll use these 2 smaller pens. So every pen has a ferrite core, a ferrite rod, right? And that's the primary thing that tells you how to sense the position of the tablet. The pen I had that did barrel rotation had 2 of them. So it looks like it's more complicated to implement. Apple Pencil Pro does barrel rotation, I think, differently. I think they have some transmitter or something. But yeah, this would be something I would love to see. And let's see. Let's get back to the demo. Initial activation force, complicated topic, folks. In my testing, I couldn't tell the difference between Pro Pen 3 and Pro Pen 2. Not one at all. I'm going to get rid of this little thing here. Hang on. It's not helping. Okay. I couldn't tell the difference at all. Cube tests the initial activation force with a Pro Pen 2 at less than 1 gram force. Now, he's not doing that with the default pressure curve. With the default pressure curve, the Pro Pen 3 and Pro Pen 2, I think, are actually at 3 gram force, right? Maybe 2 gram force. I don't know. I have real trouble measuring initial activation force. I don't know if that's me or my equipment. My equipment has really evolved, but I'll just say it like this. I cannot reliably get the Pro Pen 2, no matter what I do, to show less than 1 gram force. For me, on my measuring equipment, it always registers at about 2 or 3, and there's a margin of error there too, of at least 1 plus or minus 1 gram force. So, as an experience, I don't think anyone will notice the difference in the IAF between the 2 pens, but we have to investigate it more. But I think it's just as good as the Pro Pen 2. The one thing that's interesting we found with the Pro Pen 2 is, and the art pen and the grip pen, the default pressure curve in the driver has a little bit of a dead zone. Dead zone means it's ignoring a little bit of the lower end of the pressure curve. Pro Pen 3 default pressure curve does not have a visual dead zone. It could be because they changed how the pen is implemented, how it's designed and built. It could be, which is what I suspect, they're just hiding the dead zone in the UI. So I think the dead zone's actually there, but they don't let you configure it. I think it actually makes sense because for the Pro Pen 2 grip pen and art pen, they're capable of reporting pressure when they hover. And I can confirm this. I have 2 Pro Pen 2 units that do that. So the dead zone stops that problem because the pens are too sensitive. That's kind of a downside of having a super low IAF. And I can just imagine people mess around with this to try to get their pens to be more sensitive. And then, this is how a big company thinks. They remove features because people use the feature and that causes them to get a support call from the customer, which is expensive. So instead of dealing with the support call, they just remove the feature. So I'll bet that's what happened here, though I'd be happy to be wrong. And let's see, oops, let me get back to my Discord and make sure anything. Okay, so far so good. Let me just do a little thumbs up. Let me go forward a little bit. Max pressure, just visually, what you need to notice is these pens perform very consistently within each type of pen, and they both have relatively high pressures. This is the Pro Pen 2, this is the Pro Pen 3. This is the Pro Pen 2, where's the Pro Pen 3? This is them compared. Pro Pen 2 in red, Pro Pen 3 in blue. Very similar, both very consistent. The blue is just a little bit to the left of the red, which means that lower maximum pressure. And yeah, this slide's slightly wrong. I actually measured 6 of each kind of pen, so very consistent. Let me scroll forward. Oh, here's the price again. Pro Pen 3 is just way too expensive. Nibs, 3 kinds of nibs. I used them all, but I didn't really have much to share about my thoughts. I'll use them more and put them in my written write-up. I guess that was redundant, written write-up. I'll put them in my write-up, my notes. And just to make sure everyone knows, the Pro Pen 3 is not compatible with the Intuos Pro 2017. Wacom did say they were going to do it in 2022, at least to some tablets. They never mentioned which tablets, but still haven't done it. I don't think they're going to either. Drawing performance, let me just say this. Everything was great. No complaints whatsoever. I'll go through this section fast. Going from high to low pressure, fantastic, just as good as the previous model. This is Krita 100 pixel brush, no pressure curve. Diagonal wobble, excellent. Same as the 2017 model. Let's compare them side by side. This kind of zoomed in. You can barely see anything. When it's like this, which I consider excellent, basically I consider the diagonal wobble to be microscopic. And it's just fantastic. Low pressure artifacts. Okay, so the downside of being very sensitive to pressure, when you're drawing with a big brush and you're trying to be at the lightest pressure, weird things happen. Like, you know, your heart, I don't know, maybe this is true. Your heartbeat can trigger weird things to happen, like the way you're holding the pen. The texture of your hand, like the skin on your hand, as it moves over your desk, can trigger weird things in pressure because the tablet will sense that. The texture of the tablet can trigger weird bumps. All sorts of strange things happen. And so here's an example of what happens. And also, I don't know, I'll try to explain it. You get this weird pulsing. Part of that is, I think, due to almost like the, how can I say it? You know, there is a spring in the pen where the nib is to provide some force pushing back. And as you're pressing, it's almost, you know, I can think an analogy I'd use is almost like a shock absorber. So there's a system with your arm and the pen and the tablet surface which can kind of bounce. And I think that's what's causing this. And it's all exacerbated by the fact that pens, EMR pens in general, are hypersensitive at very low pressure. Now the good news is you can use techniques. Use pressure curves, like this is what I actually used. And then in Krita, I use pressure smoothing. You can get rid of all of that. And your strokes can look great. Again, I'm not complaining about these strokes. This is what normally happens with Intuos Pro Pen 2 and 3, but and other pens in the industry from Huion and XP Pen. Some have it more, some have it less, but don't worry if you see it. You just got to manage your pressure. That's it. Okay. Tilt compensation was excellent. Tilt compensation is how does the pointer change as you tilt? Really easy to do with the pen display, hard to do with the pen tablet, but I tried it and I noticed that the pointer stayed underneath the pen. Oops, this fell down again. This time I caught it. I guess this tape doesn't work as well as I thought it did. Actually, let me reposition it a little bit. Okay, let's see. This is like drawing quick strokes to see if it misses any strokes. It did fine. Pointer lag, very good, just as good as the previous edition. Wacom in general has incredibly little pointer lag, so fantastic job. Okay, auxiliary inputs means anything besides the pen, so multi-touch, dials, express keys. So this is our first weird decision from Wacom. Well, I shouldn't say weird. They have rational reasons for dropping touch. Lots of people didn't use it. Lots of people hated it. I was one of those people. But some people, as I discovered by looking at many videos and comments on Pro Pen 2 on Wacom videos, they use the touch a lot, and they love. I guess they even love touch. But I guess from Wacom's perspective, small audience for it, and it's just increasing the cost of the device, so they dropped it. I have to be honest with you, I get, as a former group program manager in Microsoft, I get it. I get the business decision to drop touch, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look to drop a feature. And right now we don't, the problem especially right now is, yeah, you can keep on using the existing model. We'll talk more about that. But there are no other pen tablets with touch in the industry except, the Intuos Pro models. Huion doesn't have one. XP Pen doesn't have one. They have them in the pen displays, but not pen tablets. So we're gonna need, this is an opportunity for Huion and XP Pen to add touch. I think they should definitely consider it. But they need to do a good job of it, not just, again, I was never satisfied with what Wacom did. Express keys were the most controversial, huge amount of controversy. So we have express keys and a dial, so they're always paired up. Now, there are two pairs for the medium and large, but one for the small. And the biggest question I got many times was, do I accidentally press these keys and dials? In this orientation, no. There's just no way to do it. Same in this orientation, for those of you who want to put the tablet underneath the keyboard. However, if you type, when the hand is just touching the bottom keys, my hand's arched over them, so I didn't press them. But when I reached the top of the keyboard, yeah, I did press them. Now this is how I actually use the tablet. I have a tour box, which I mentioned probably in every video I've ever made. And so I didn't accidentally touch the press keys or dials. Is it improvement? Well, don't know. I don't know if it is an improvement. That's because I feel like I touch them a little bit less, but I don't use them. So, I ended up disabling them. And this is how they're all disabled. If that's one thing I would wish was just easier in this UI to disable them. I did accidentally, when I was deliberately trying to press one of them, the dial, let's say, I would accidentally press the express keys and vice versa, because they're very similar in shape and size and location. So that was just, I think it takes time for my brain to train itself. And the dial felt really good to rotate. It has a very soft click, very nice, not irritating. Feels good. It rotates with ease, but it's not too easy, but not too hard. So I was very happy with it. Express key, what I always forgot, it's not just the 4 keys on the ring. Actually, the middle is a fifth button. So you have 5 options for the express keys. Oh, sorry, the express keys. A lot to say about the device size. So it is physically smaller, which you can see. Actually, when I put it side by side, it's not as obvious. I think the actual difference is quite big. The active area is larger in this tablet, and it's 16 by 9, by the way, which is very good, which you'll see later. It is substantially larger in terms of active area. So the tablet is shrunk, but the active area is bigger, right? And it's about 18% more active area, which is excellent. And what you'll discover is in just a minute, it's not just 18%. When you think about how you'll actually have to use the tablet, it's like over 30%. Okay, I'm going to take a quick bio break. I'll be right back. Sorry, just going to be back. Okay, I am back. And I just realized I should probably put on some background music while I'm, there we go. Okay, and get good news. I found my much more reliable blue tape. So now the microphone will not slip. I promise you I will find more elegant ways of dealing with the audio. I could use a much better microphone, but then it's always in my way. I'm bumping into it. Next time I'm going to try to affix a microphone up here so that I don't have to, I can solve both problems. Having good audio and nothing gets in the way. Okay, now I've got my much better blue tape. There we go. Okay, so we were talking about the size, and where I was going was, for all three sizes, the physical device is smaller considerably, but the active area has grown, sometimes considerably. So let me, just for a second, move my face so that you can see all the numbers. So large, medium, and small. You can see large. Device, 22% smaller. Active area, a little bit larger, 1.3%. The medium, almost 20% smaller as a device, almost 18% bigger in terms of active area. Small, 23% smaller as a device. Almost 23% bigger in terms of active area. So what has happened here? This is the first part of a very big quality of life improvement. For your money, you get more drawing surface. Okay? So that's a very nice change, right? I wasn't complaining about the drawing surface, but like this is good. Oh, I see. I missed a whole bunch of new comments. My fault. I didn't see it. My apologies. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing comments. I just wasn't scrolling. TR4, they will remove a feature and then add it back later. Next tablet will have touch gestures and the pen will have barrel rotation. I certainly hope so, TR4. Frankly, I hope their competitors start doing it too. But Wacom pens don't have batteries. I think you're referring to the Apple Pencil, my comment there. You know, honestly, I think my opinion has changed. And I realize like this is a little bit controversial. If Wacom gave me, or if anyone gave, okay, let me just back up for a second. Imagine you got a pen as good as the Pro Pen 2 with barrel rotation, and it recharged really quickly. Okay, Apple Pencil does recharge quickly. I think I'd be okay with it. I think I would be okay giving up on EMR technology and switching to anything else, as long as it was light, or light enough, had, barrel rotation and maybe better tilt, or at least as good as the Pro Pen 2, and not much more expensive. I'd give up on EMR technology, of course. Of course, it has to have no diagonal wobble and all that. But if it could meet all this criteria, I'm not loyal to EMR. It's not like I'm personally invested in EMR technology. But I think I would do it. I think it would be okay for me. But if you think that recharging a pen, that the fact that you have to recharge it is going to be problematic, I'd love to know about it. I thought I would hate recharging a pen until I got the Apple iPad. And you put the pen on top of the iPad. There's an iPad right here. And then, I think it charges, in 15 seconds, you get enough charge for 30 minutes of drawing. That's not bad. That's not bad, right? Now, don't get me wrong, there's a certain elegance to the pen just gets its energy from the tablet itself. But I think I could live in a world with a tablet that has a battery. Let's see, Alberto G. I wish my pen had a scroll wheel. I think I would use that a lot. Yeah, you mean like the XP Pen Pro Roller? It does have a scroll wheel, and I have to be honest with you, to me it gets in the way. It gets in the way, and I don't know how to quite say this, but I don't have a better word for it than this. It's finicky. I feel like, now it could be the specific way they implemented it, but and I'll give it another try, but I wasn't really buying into it, but I will give it another try. Let's see. A perfectly normal internet user, good to see you. Question, how does the R Pen feel to use on modern tablets? I had the opportunity to try one before on more dated tablet and the latency felt quite bad. I used the art pen about 2 years ago. I was drawing a lot with the Intuos 4 XL. I use the art pen all the time. I love that pen. And I've used it with the Pro Pen 2 sometimes, and even this, I've used it with the Intuos Pro 2017 and the Intuos Pro 2025. It's been fine. I didn't notice any latency. A perfectly normal internet user, can you tell me a little bit, maybe a little bit more about the latency? Because are you talking about the position or the tilt or something else? I didn't notice anything. It seemed just as good as the grip pen or the Pro Pen 2. Also, you can tell me which tablet you used it with. I can investigate and see, because I have a lot of Wacom tablets. AX23W4 says, I think the future is standalone screen tablets. Wacom has to compete with iPad Pro to deserve a title of best product for artists. And I think it should also have an option to connect to PC. 100% agree with everything you're saying. There's a statement we had in Microsoft, and I'm going to repeat it here. I violently agree with you. I absolutely think you've hit the nail right on the head, to use another metaphor. I think as standalone screen tablets or display tablets evolve with thinner displays, I've also heard that people are working on incorporating the EMR tech into the display itself, into the display panel. So they should get even thinner, they should require even less power. Maybe they'll even have more precision and less noise. I think that could be the future. The thing we have to worry about is cost and durability. Because one of the great things about, this thing is, I'll do it. See, I'll just drop it. Nothing's gonna happen to it. I would not dare do that with a screen tablet. Maybe with an OLED. I mean, I have the Moving 13, and I guess, it hit its side. I didn't hit the front of it. But I guess those are more sturdy, but I would be scared to do that with an iPad. But I think more and more people will use a screen-based device that can be used standalone and plug into a PC. That to me is the ultimate future for a lot of people. And I think pen tablets still have a place though. So I think a perfectly normal internet user, you're saying, I don't think so. Pen computers have not historically been that great or useful compared to other options. I think that may be changing. Again, because I think we're reaching now more powerful pen computers that are getting thinner. And don't get me wrong, I would like them even thinner. And this is my idea, if it connects to your computer, it can just act like a pen display. But if it's standalone, maybe I don't need full Windows. Maybe I just need an Android version that's optimized for, apps like High Paint or Infinite Paint or whatever. I think I could live in that world, right? But we'll see. I think we'll get there. Top hello, small question. Does the pen nib for the Pro Pen 3 fit on the Pro Pen 2? Yes, it does. It does. I should have mentioned that in the video. I tried it. It fits. It didn't fall out. It does stick out a little bit more, but yeah, it worked fine. I can try it again if you want me to, but I was surprised that it worked. Okay, Nizio says, what I mean with consistency is that with the grip pen, it's easier to draw a line of the same thickness. I don't know why, but it's harder to do with the Pro Pen 2 and Huion pens. Interesting. That could be because of the pressure curve. That's in, the pressure response of the pens. It could be because the driver has tweaked the pressure curve. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I actually felt that way for a while as well. Even though I had you were talking about the grip pen, even though I had the Pro Pen 2 for a long time, I would actually switch back to the grip pen quite often. I liked it. I really liked it. And I still actually sometimes use it. This sounds bad, but except for the pressure being higher with the Pro Pen 3, I didn't notice any difference with the grip pen. Do I think, Flameless asks, do I think screenless tablet technology is plateauing? Absolutely. It's absolutely plateauing, right? Here's how I see that. Wacom's doing some weird things right now, like they're removing features from their tablets. We see that with touch. And what are they improving? I mean, I like the improvements, but what are they improving about the Intuos Pro 3? It's physically larger, the active area, but that's not a technology improvement. They changed the dials, but that's not a technology improvement. That's just kind of a ergonomic improvement. The fundamentals aren't changing at all, and they haven't for quite a while. The Huion and XP Pen, I'm not really that familiar with the core technology they have. I mean, I know the Huion Pro Pen, what they call PenTech 4.0, has been getting better because I measure the pens. And I think their EMR tech is, same with XP, when they're catching up with Wacom. But they're just going to catch up. And once they catch up, there's no point getting better. You know, a great example, 5080 lines per inch, which is 200 lines per millimeter. That's the resolution of these EMR tablets. What possible benefit would we get if we went to, I don't know, 10,000 lines per inch? Same with pressure. Like, I'm sure it's going to happen. Someone's going to say, oh, now we have 32,000 or 64,000 pressure levels. It's meaningless. So they can be bumping up these specs. I mean, they could really be doing the engineering to make it work, but you'd never as a human be able to notice it. Just to give you like a concrete example of how more levels doesn't help, let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. We're gonna find a question about NASA, the National Air and Space Aeronautics. Was it? Actually, I forgot what it calls. National Air and Space Administration. Okay, I gotta figure out how to get this thing shrunken down though. There we go. Okay. And I found this somewhere. How many, oops, okay. Oh, I see, I typed in the wrong keyword. How many digits of precision does NASA use? Okay. Okay, and this is just my example. I'm not saying it directly applies to our situation, but I just want you to think about this. NASA, in theory, could use hundreds of digits for precision, right? And it looks like they use 15. And if I recall the article correctly, there's actually, well, oh, look, well, this is from NASA themselves, right? Let's see. Maybe this will do it, because one of these things had a really good example of why. Okay. Okay, so this is the example. So there's some examples given in this article in 2016 from NASA, apparently. And it says the Voyager spacecraft, which is like very far from the Earth, and it's, what is it? 24 billion kilometers or 15 billion miles from the sun. And if you went from, if you added a few more digits, all you do is be more accurate by 1 centimeter. And that's what pressure levels are like. Like, we can keep on adding all these pressure levels, but like, at some point, there's no conceivable way for a human to make this. It's that way now. You can't make the difference, or you can't create the difference reliably with your hands. So that's my example of why some of these specs are pointless, even if you could evolve them forward. Okay, let me get my comments back. Somehow, where did they go? Okay. Okay, and Nizio had, what I mean with consistency is that the grip pen is easier to draw a line of the same thickness. I don't know why it's harder to do that with the Pro Pen 2 and UN pens. Nizio, I could believe it. I'll try the grip pen again. Again, I used it preferentially for quite a while. But double check if you had set a pressure curve, because that can affect line consistency and improve it. Nizio says, the line quality of the Apple Pencil is vile. You think so? I'd love to hear more why. I mean, I know the iPad screen is glossy, so it's hard sometimes to stay on a line. And when you're drawing slow, there is a lot of diagonal wobble. But I'd love to know exactly what you find is vile. Because I know some people don't like it, but vile is a strong word. A perfectly normal internet user says, Apple's implementation of a battery pen is a genius. Unfortunately, as people who made EMR, I don't think Wacom has it in them to give up on it. I agree with you. I think it's, they're locked up with EMR. And I don't blame them because obviously EMR is how they made their money. However, you have to keep this in mind. Their core patents on EMR expired over 10 years ago. I think maybe 15 years ago. So I know they've added other patents. I don't know how, interesting those patents are. Okay, let me back up. I'm going to talk one more thing about this Wacom and their relationship to EMR. Wacom has several business units, okay? One of them is called the branded business unit. And branded business unit means devices like this that have the word Intuos Pro or whatever, Wacom on them. And then they have another business unit, which I just can't remember right now. Maybe it's like future stuff. But then the other business unit is called, I think it's called like technology or licensing or something. But here's what it is. They take their technology and they license it to other companies. Now, for the last couple of years, guess which business unit has been making most of the money? It's not this one. It's not their branded business. It's their technology licensing business. I think they licensed EMR tech to several companies. I think Samsung owns part of Wacom, but maybe there are other companies. The key thing is they make a lot of their money licensing their tech. So, for them to give that tech up would be absolutely, as you point out, a strange thing for Wacom. I don't think they could do it. They already have alternate tech. What is it called? AES, active electrostatic, which is not great. Maybe they can improve that. Let's see, perfectly normal interview. It might have been the tablet's latency instead of the Art Pen. It was a larger, very old model that did not support Pro Pen 2. Interesting. I'm thinking it was in Intuos 4 maybe, right? It could have been the Intuos 5, but I'm thinking it was Intuos Pro 4, because that's, I think, at least that's when I remember the Art Pen coming out, personally. Nizio, I'm using a Pencil Pro and it feels great. Oh, this is TR4 at Nizio. Yeah, I see that thicker screen protectors make it wobbly. That's a good point. I had forgotten about that. People who use some screen protectors see more wobble, which is very interesting. I'll have to investigate why that happens. And then top below, then if someone were to use Pro Pen 3 nib on Pro Pen 2, since the nib goes out more, does that mean technically there's more room for tilt? Actually, yeah, you should get slightly more. If you want, I can take a photo of the Pro Pen 2 with the Pro Pen, with both nibs, and show you. I think the difference should be slight, but it should let you get a little bit further, a little bit more tilt. Okay, Nizio says, I sent a line quality comparison on the live stream React channel on Discord server between the grip pen and the Apple Pencil. Let's take a look. Let's move my keyboard a little bit. And thank you for sending that, Nizio. Where is Discord? Okay. And I should have mentioned the right live stream react channel. Okay. Martin, you're Nizio. People, you have to remind me who you are on the stream versus the Discord channel, because I always forget the mapping. Okay, let's see. Apple, you can see this, right? Let's zoom this up. That's right. This one is grip pen on Cintiq 22HD. Okay. Beautiful strokes. Grip pen on Cintiq 22HD. And that's not even a recent tablet. Okay. Apple Pencil and iPad Mini. Okay, here's what I'm noticing. Those little dots at the beginning, obviously. Those little pulses. That can happen with Wacom pens, but definitely it seems like you're experiencing them more often with the Apple Pencil. The other thing I'm noticing, it just could be me, but I'm noticing in some cases, especially with the stroke on the left, and maybe, let me put my mouse there. This one, and I'm noticing a little bit of like, the lines vary more than I'd expect. Like with your other example, there were very well controlled lines. And this could be just the way the Apple Pencil supports pressure. They definitely don't look as good. I thought you were going to show me diagonal wobble problems, but this is interesting. I will have to test my Apple Pencil Pro and see if I get something similar. I actually have, well, I cannot remember getting these kind of dots. I have gotten them, but it seems like you're very easily getting them. So that's interesting. By the way, everyone, I just want to talk about Nizio or Martin. He's a really good artist. He drew something on one of our channels, and I was so amazed. Has anyone seen a graphic novel called Hellboy? And there's this, what was the artist? Is Mike Mignola? I think it's either Mignola or Mike Mignola. But his line work and where he uses just areas of black are so good. And Nizio Martin drew something, and it just totally reminded me of that style. Not exactly the same style, but just so, and I hope you don't mind, I'm going to show it. It's so beautiful. Because it's in the art showcase, so I don't think you mind if people see it. But I think people got to see it. Where is it? Or is it in daily drawing practice? I got to find it out. Here it is. Look at this. Isn't that great? I mean, I love everything about this. The deep blacks, how he did the shading, and these little lines that show detail. Very scary, very intense image, so beautiful work. I just wanted to highlight that. It was my favorite thing to see this week, Nizio/Martin. Let's go back to, so I hope you don't mind, I hope I didn't embarrass you with that. And your comment was, I remember it was bad, but not that bad. You can get used to anything, but once you try the good stuff. It is true, it is true. Once you know what the difference is, you really view the old stuff with a very different eye. That is absolutely true. Okay, and let's got so many comments. This is good. Everyone's keeping me busy today. I'm so happy to be streaming again. I would see AX23W4. I would hate if Wacom pens had to be charged, but if they had to go this way, They would have to make it as frictionless as charging an Apple Pencil. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it would have to be something that I never had to like get it serviced. Like the battery can never wear out for like 10 years. Like I don't want to ever talk. They would have to be that good. Okay. But yeah, I could deal with it. I could deal with it. A perfectly normal internet user. I think the only all-in-one tablet that has seen wide adoption by artists is the iPad. Yeah, I think that's absolutely accurate. And it's only thanks to Apple's extremely good pen implementation. 100% agree. Microsoft is closest with their Surface line, which fits the bill of being a slim all-in-one tablet, but the pen implementation is still behind Apple. It's simply way too well. I agree with everything you're saying. I would just like to expand upon it. Surface Pen could be great, but they're now the Surface Slim Pen 2, which is the best of the series. It still has some diagonal wobble, though I have to give it another try. The other thing is, and I'll talk more about Microsoft in a minute. The other thing about the Surface is, it's just, look, I have the latest Surface Laptops 9 with the ARM processor. Windows just still feels as heavy as ever. It's still, yeah, its battery life is better for sure, but it's no iPad. And I don't think the Surface Pro with the ARM processor is any better, or not much. They have got to really improve. And I think they can do it. The weight of the device is also noticeable. They can do it. My comment about Microsoft and pens is, and this is something that you have to keep in mind. And this is maybe unfair, but I think it accurately represents sort of the thinking. The Surface Pro line, and I guess the Surface laptop, is conceived as a device you'd buy someone entering college because they're going to take notes and things like that, or it's somebody who works in a business where they're taking notes, or they're marking up legal documents, or I don't know. They always show videos of some engineer walking around a factory pointing to some other engineer and circling something and that kind of thing, like a kind of live thing. Or maybe those are business kind of educational scenarios. I think they tolerate this is an exaggeration. They tolerate the existence of artists. They're happy that artists don't complain too much, but I don't think they focus on the artistic experience. And I think they should, because if they brought that perspective in, they'd get a better device. And people who are just marking up documents may not realize how poor the pen experience is, because they don't really challenge the pen experience. They're not doing something crazy. They might not even been using pressure. I'd love to see a Surface device challenge the iPad, but and they could do it, but they have to need some focus on it. AX23W4, a perfectly normal, there's one more comment here from perfectly normal user. They're still behind. AX23W4, a perfectly normal internet user at the perfectly normal internet user. That's why I'm thinking Wacom try to compete for that first place. I hope so. I hope they do too. The challenge for Wacom is that they're a tablet brand, and I think it's difficult for them to make that transition to a general purpose device brand. Now, maybe via Samsung they can do it, because Samsung owns part of Wacom, and they definitely use the technology, like the S Pens use Wacom UD-EMR tech. Personally, I think Wacom Moving is for now Wacom's best answer to iPad. Incredibly thin, light. With all their tech, it's already too expensive and does less than an iPad. Yeah, great point. Moving is in a lot of ways it feels like using an iPad in some sense, but yeah, the cost, and it's not there yet, because you have to use it with another computer. Thank you so much, Nizio Martin. Appreciate that you said that. It's really good work, and I think I wanted everyone to be able to to see this amazing work you did. Okay, what was I gonna do is continue with this. So where I left it was the devices physically got smaller, active areas got bigger by a little bit, 1.3% to a lot, 22%. Now, what you need to understand though, is that we have to learn about aspect ratios. Remember, most tablets don't have a 16:9 aspect ratio. So if you use them with a monitor that does, you get distorted drawing. Draw a circle on the tablet, you get oval on the monitor. Easy to fix. There's a feature called force proportions. And this is how you turn it on for the Intuos Pro 2017. And there's another way to do it for the Intuos Pro 2025. And once you do, everything's okay. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Everything is, what force proportions does is restrict your active area to match the monitor. So once you do that, everything is just, let's find a picture. Everything will just be okay. See, circle on left, circle on right, but the price was we lost a little bit of active area. Why did we lose? Because the aspect ratio did not match the monitor. Okay, now, just one note, you don't need to use force proportions with pen displays. This is only for pen tablets. Okay, the 16:9 aspect ratio of the new tablets is good. All of them have a 16:9 aspect ratio. The official numbers have them slightly off a little bit, but that just may be a rounding error. In any case, you can turn on force proportions, nothing bad will happen. But let's consider them 16:9 since they're so very, very close. Okay, the key point was, if you have to use force proportions, you will notice that the new tablets effectively give you much more active area. Let me give you an example. Across the tablets, if you compare them to the old sizes, if you had to enable force proportions to use them on a 16:9 monitor, look at how much more active area you can effectively use. 25% more on the large, 38% more on the medium, and 36% on the small. That's because you were losing so much active area on the 2017 tablets. So this, again, this change to 16:9, this quality of life improvement, huge benefit to the new tablets. That's definitely a plus. And let me move forward a little bit. Another thing I noticed is the Intuos Pro, the new Intuos Pro Large, is about as big, it's a bit larger, but close to size as the Intuos Pro 2017 Medium. You can see them side by side and you can see them stacked on top of each other. So the Intuos Pro Large 2025 Large is not available yet. I think it'll be available in May. As soon as it's there, I'm gonna order it. And I love using large sizes, and this is gonna be even easier for the desk. So those of you who are interested in large, you may really like it. Or those of you who are not getting a large because it took up too much space, this is a much more reasonable size. So we'll see when I get it. And okay, now we get to the bezels. Okay, now I actually was gonna publish this video. I published it very early this morning. I was gonna publish it early yesterday, but I didn't. I held off for 24 hours. Why? Bezels. Can you believe I found that much interesting to talk about with bezels? I couldn't believe it either, but I did, at least for people who are obsessed with drawing tablets. Okay, the physical size got small, active area got big for each size. What does that mean? The bezels had to shrink. Top bezel got a little bit larger, about 30%. The right, bottom, and left bezels, they decreased in size by 70 to 80%. So the bezels are hugely small. But numbers don't tell the whole story. Take a look at the tape. The tail of the tape, as they say. I put purple tape where the bezel is. So where it's black to the left of the bezel, that's the drawing area. And where you see purple, that's the bezel. You can't draw in that area. you can just see how big the difference is, okay? Now, a couple of comments here. The bezels are much smaller, for sure, but they're not crazy. I looked through a bunch of other Huion and XP pen tablets. They have small bezels too. It was Wacom that had wide bezels, okay? So a little bit of a differentiating factor with the Intuos Pro models. Now, also, sorry, I went backwards. Yeah, also, the Intuos Pro Medium in physical size it's about very similar to the Wacom Moving 13. And the bezel on the Intuos Pro Medium is actually a little bit larger than the Moving 13. So I know some people are like, oh, small bezels are awful. But I had the Moving 13 and I didn't even think about it. So that was interesting, right? Now, before I continue, I'm just gonna tell you the truth. For years on pen tablets, I swore up and down, I want smaller bezels. Why are the bezels so big? These bezels are too big. Wacom should make smaller bezels. And I was, it's like, oh, we're wasting so much space on these stupid bezels. Sorry, I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea, okay? And what happens? I get my wish. I get really small bezels. Not crazy small, but small to where I would expect. And what happens? I didn't hate it. But finally I understood, this is why people like wide bezels. And we have a comment from Nizio here. Let's take a look. I would rather get a larger bezel on the side and no express keys. Only on one side, because you can flip the tablet around if you want to use your left hand. It makes sense, makes sense. So I had, my epiphany, and I did some measuring. By the way, that's my hand, so here's a nice hand docs for everyone, for those of you who are stalking me online. I'm holding the Pro Pen 2. I'm 6 feet tall. I think my hands are normal sized for my height as a man, so take that for what you will. It's neither very large for my size or very small. But, I have kind of relatively longer arms for my size as well. Okay, Intuos Pro 17, when I'm drawing and I'm somewhere in the vicinity of the edge of the active area, I'm not at the edge of the tablet, edge of the active area, my hand is on the tablet. Maybe some of it's, touching the edge and, hanging over, but it's not touching the desk, okay? When I get to the very, very edge of the tablet, it depends on the angle of my arm. Sometimes the entire hand is on the tablet. Sometimes the hand is, at the very, very edge. Hand can kind of mostly be on the desk. However, with the Intuos Pro, and I spent so much time last night measuring things. I got out a ruler. Sorry, the ruler is upside down because that's just the orientation of the ruler. I couldn't put the ruler on top and have the numbers the correct orientation. So where the ruler says 0, which is, where's my mouse? Right here, that's the active area, edge. And right now I'm putting the hand and it's pointing at 13, which is 13 centimeters. So 130 millimeters from the active area's edge. And this is basically the middle of the tablet. My hand is entirely on the tablet, of course. At 100 millimeters, so quite a big jump, my hand is still entirely on the tablet. At 90 millimeters, my hand's on the tablet, but I can feel the edge. So there's a little bit of the flesh of this hand, which is hanging over the tablet. But I'm basically on the tablet like 90%. But I'm not touching the desk. At 70 millimeters, my hand now is definitely touching the desk. And like half of my hand is on the desk, half is on the tablet. I would say the weight is evenly distributed. So the edge is now fully engaged on my hand. We'll talk about the edge, it's important. And then at 45 millimeters, the hand is sorry, it's actually, the statement's wrong there. The hand is not entirely on the tablet, I left that in. The hand is entirely on the hand is partially on the tablet, but it's really mostly on the desk. The full weight is on the desk. The hand's on the desk and the full weight's on the desk. And the fingers they're either hovering or just barely touching the tablet, okay? Lightly grazing the tablet. So 40 millimeters, roughly speaking, 45 millimeters, my hand is not on the tablet. And then of course, as I get to, everything after 45 millimeters, my hand's completely off the tablet. Here's the issue. As you draw, and you're making strokes, I can't do it in this angle, or not easily, because I have to do this backwards. Hey, I have a camera up here. Why don't I use it to show you? Isn't that great? Okay. Let us move things around a little bit. I'm not gonna literally draw anything, but I just want to show this. I don't add I don't add recorded videos to my videos because I hate video editing, but live stream, it's different. Okay, I'm gonna pretend to draw. So I'm drawing, maybe I should show you this a little bit easier. Okay, here we go. I'll zoom in, why not? I'm drawing all happily, right? And remember, I'm in the middle of the tablet. As I get here, I'm feeling the edge, which I'm gonna talk about. And what happens next is that I'll get off the tablet. I'm on the desk now, and then I'm completely on the desk from here on. And that's the last like 40 millimeters. So as you make a stroke from here to here, you will drop off the edge, okay? Now the edge is thin, so it's not too big of a problem. But some people are not gonna like that transition because you can feel that edge, which I'll talk about, and some of you are gonna find that it disrupts the stroke. Now, there's a comment here by a perfectly normal internet user, which is very interesting. I think you don't notice the bezels on the Move Ink because it's similar to the iPad, which you're used to, and it's usually used at steeper angles. The Intuos Pro is meant to lie flat on the table. That's a fantastic point. So we're gonna talk a little bit about when I notice the bezels or not. So there's one phenomena which I think all of you have probably noticed, especially if you've seen used tablets advertised on eBay. You can almost always see that the center of the tablet is where the texture is eroded. So people with their drawing tend to draw here. Now, why is that? Because on a piece of paper, you draw everywhere. But with a tablet and you're drawing, people tend to recenter all the time. Wherever they're drawing, they will tend to, on the application, they'll move the center of the diagram so they end up drawing in the middle. This is just statistically true. We can see it all the time happening. And I think people even do it kind of unconsciously. I didn't realize it until I started paying attention to my drawing, looking at all these eBay sales, eBay listings. So for a lot of you, you're not gonna notice because when you get close, you're just gonna unconsciously maybe move the drawing so that on the app, the center is here and you're not gonna notice, okay? In other words, this is just gonna be like a bezel for you for a lot of the cases. If you're a person who buys this tablet for drawing, you're gonna use it and you're drawing like this transition off the edge may be irritating. Also, if you get the tablet as a mouse replacement, and mouse, let's say you have to close a window on Windows. Where do I click the upper right-hand corner to close a window on Windows is at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So I'll have to go all the way right about here to click. I am about 10 to 15 millimeters, my fingers, you can't see it so clearly because of the angle of the camera. It's like these two fingers are 10 to 15 millimeters away from the tablet. I'm nowhere near the tablet. So that can feel weird. Okay, and Nizio says, I sent my Intuos Pro redesign on the reaction. Let's take a look at it because I have a feeling I'm very interested in this. Okay, and let's get back to the demo. React channel. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it is interesting. I actually thought you're gonna have the bezels on both sides, but let's react to what you have. So you're saying, I think you wrote this, you wanted the bezels just on the right, and then you could just rotate the tablet, right? I totally get it. I hadn't considered bezels on only one side, right? Now, I'm not gonna say I dislike this shorter bezel. It's just that I notice it. But I will give credit now to all the bezel enjoyers. I get it now, folks. I understand now what you saw about the bezel. I'm trying to wax poetic here. The bezels added a really good experience to the tablet. And I'm going to use a phrase that I know I'm going to get punished for using, but the bezels, in their own way, made the experience of using the Intuos Pro 2017 more magical. Because you didn't feel you didn't feel the tablet limit you. And feeling the edge explicitly is a limit. It is the edge of the tablet, okay? And it is more elegant with a longer bezel. I said in one of my streams that sometimes I'm ranting. I don't conceptualize tablets as a piece of plastic with a digitizer. I think of them as a place where you can be creative. And there's no reason for that place to limit itself to the size of the digitizer. And I'm more a believer of the idea that the tablet shouldn't try to just, hug the digitizer and have small bezels. Nothing wrong with this tablet, but I get it. I get why people like bezels. Weird thing to say, but I'm a believer now. I like Nizio/Martin's design. I think this is more what I expected. I didn't expect the bezels to get as small. I think it's a very interesting choice to have the bezels on one side in your redesign, because you're right. If you don't like it, you can just flip it, right? And that's nice. I don't know if you implied it, but I actually also thought they would drop the express keys and dials altogether. I thought they were just going to go with a clean rectangle, so they surprised me with the new tablet. So anyway, the bezels have their uses. I'm still adjusting to using this tablet because of the edge. Now I want to talk about the edge because there is something a little bit weird about the edge. Subtle, but weird. There we go. Okay, so let me move forward a little bit. Oh, and I see AX23W has a comment. I agree with this redesign. Yeah, it's a good design. It's a good redesign. It solves a problem kind of elegantly, I think. Nizio/Martin. Okay, this is a close-up of the edge. Now, by itself, and this is actually the left edge because I had tape on the right. There's nothing really obvious here, right? But I've kept on in the last 10 minutes. Well, I'm going to talk about the edge. I'm going to talk about the edge. I try to take a photo of both edges for the old and the new. The photos don't do it justice. And so I'm going to try a diagram. On the left is the 2017, on the right the 2025. This diagram is not to scale. Okay, it is not to scale. I don't claim that this physically matches what the tablets are engineered to be. But this is what it feels like. As for both tablets have this lip at the edge. As you go off the tablet, based on photographs and my feeling, you definitely notice the edge of the Intuos Pro 2025. Same with the Moving, by the way. The Intuos Pro 2017, you notice the edge, but it doesn't seem to stick out as much. Now, some of you are not going to like that transition. What might have been nicer for Wacom, it would have been nicer to have it go smoothly down. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. I think it would have added to my sense of less disruption if they'd done that. So I can't say it's a huge complaint. I'm not sure it is a complaint for me, but I notice it every time. I'm like, that edge, there's that edge. Okay, so you'll definitely notice it. Overall, it works for me. The tablet's thin, so it doesn't feel like my hand is, falling off. You'll notice the transition. The edge isn't painful, it doesn't dig into the hand, but you'll notice it. And again, I can understand why people like wider bezels. Definitely, if you're gonna think about this tablet, try it out, because if depending on how you draw, you may not like that feeling of transitioning from tablet to desk. And Perfectly Normal Internet User has a comment. That honestly makes a lot of sense to me. It's not just about pure practicality, but the feel of the experience, especially for creative products like this. That's exactly right. And this is one of many things in the last 2 years which has made me a believer about the experience, not just the tech, right? And just to give some credit to Sense Labs, they talk about that all the time. They mention that the tech is good enough. Don't get me wrong, I think the tech could be better. But they say the tech is good enough and that what matters are these other things. And for them, they point out the lip at the bottom of the tablet. They started tilting it down, including 2 pens. And now we talk about bezels. So we have to, I think whoever's designing these tablets needs to go back, I don't want to criticize Wacom, and saying this sounds like a criticism. I'd like to see Huion and XP Pen and Sense Labs think about other things like this which add to that premium experience. And yes, it takes up more space, and yes, it's not in the trend of making things smaller, but maybe there was some real magic to those bezels. That's what I'm saying now. Let's see, and one more comment. Oh, right, and most drawing programs have their UIs concentrated on the left, where the hand usually falls, which acts as a pseudo bezel. Oh, speaking of pseudo bezels, now you reminded me of something important. 2 things. Number 1, the active area is this big, but that's the native active area. You can actually shrink it. You can shrink it internally, though it's not necessarily as obvious how to do it in the driver. And you can make the active area smaller. So you can give yourself smaller bezels, but you'll lose some active area. And I'll add that to my written notes. This is actually a secondary reason why I'm interested in the large tablet. In general, I like drawing with larger. But with a large tablet, I can resize the active area to give me my bezels back. Now it won't give me a better lip, a better edge, but I can get my bezels back with the large. I will lose active area, but maybe that's worth it. So we'll see. I feel bad wasting active area, but maybe that's the right thing to do. Okay, what else do we have here? Bezels. Oh, this is the thickness. It's 7 on top, 4 to the bottom millimeters. And this is it next to the Moving 13. They're very, sorry, let me back up. It seems like the physical design of these tablets are related. They look to be part of the same family. That's what I'm getting. That's the conversation that this industrial design is telling me. They're lighter, they're more portable, and they're definitely part of that same design language. Weight, of course, you can guess with all the size reductions. They're between 40 to almost 50% lighter. Some people ask me, will it slide around the desk as you draw? And it won't. Like I'm drawing it now, I'm really pressing down. It doesn't slide at all. If you move it with your finger, yeah, of course it'll move, and it takes a little bit less force than the old models, but it's solid on the desk. Don't worry about sliding, it doesn't. Surface texture is good. There's definitely a great feeling. It's a little bit less than the old model. Your fingers can't detect the texture, it's only through the pen. The other thing I noticed, it feels softer. A good way, in a good way. It doesn't feel rubbery at all, but it just feels softer. And I tried even the Pro Pen 2 with it. Feels softer, and that softness feels nice. I noticed that as I pressed hard with the pen, there is texture you can see with the microscope. I didn't notice the texture erode as much as with the Pro Pen 2, the Intuos Pro 2017, which it famously has a lot of surface texture that erodes very fast. Let's see. Oh yeah, I think I've only been using it for two and a half weeks at this point. Because there's reduced texture, because it's softer, I think nibs will last longer. Now you can't, don't get me wrong. If you're gonna draw like this, like over and over, like you're filling in an area with a pencil, you're gonna wear through a nib. But even then, and in, of course, normal cases, I think you'll experience less nib wear down. But it's gonna take time. We need more people to comment. Maybe I'll do some nib wearing experiments and see how quickly. With the Pro Pen 2, the default nib, I could do this, like literally for a few minutes and create a nice flat edge on it. Like this Pro Pen, the Intuos Pro 17 was correctly known as a destroyer of nibs. I mean, it chewed through them depending on how you drew. I was a light drawer. I draw a lot of line art, so I wasn't doing that kind of back and forth. So my nibs lasted a long time, like years. But some people, every week, sometimes faster than every week, sometimes a couple of days, they had to replace their nibs. Should be better here. Another thing, the texture is not only softer, it's quieter to draw on. It's not as scratchy, at least compared to the 2017 model. Connections, nothing surprising. It has comes with a cable. There's a USB-C port on the, oops, I skipped, where is it? I want to show it to you. Well, it's on the upper right-hand side. It's just a USB-C port, nothing special. I tested it with the cable it came with. I tested it with the Intuos Pro 2017 cable and a random monoprice cable, and they all worked. So as long as the USB-C cable supports data, it'll work with this tablet. And this is the exact monoprice cable. As I mentioned in the video, the only reason I talk about this cable is people ask me a lot, and the reason I bought it is not because it's a special cable, it's just blue, and I wanted something that wasn't a black cable, because I have too many USB cables that are just the same color. And minor thing, the new cable, the old cable connected as an L connector, but the new one just goes straight in. I think the L connector looked a little more elegant. Okay, we have a comment. Let's see, some people on the other videos commented that the speckled plastic around the express keys feel cheap. Do you feel like it is? No, not at all. I don't think, I saw some of those comments, a perfectly normal internet user. I was surprised. I don't think it feels cheap at all. Visually, it looks like the speckled texture you would see on certain high-end digital cameras or photography equipment. I don't know where the cheap comment comes from. I didn't get it. I mean, I have a cheap keyboard here. I'm trying to find devices that are cheap. I don't know, this piece of plastic. No, I don't call it cheap. And it's not especially noticeable either, right? So I didn't think that was a big deal. Now let's see. I got the 2017 as my first screenless tablet. Wow, did it chew through nibs? Yeah, it is surprising how fast it can eat nibs. Bluetooth is the big improvement. Now, I didn't test Bluetooth because I don't use Bluetooth, but this is where you can pair to two devices, and then you don't need to repair to switch. You can just, there's a button at top that switches between USB and Bluetooth 1 and Bluetooth 2. Didn't test it. If someone wants me to, I can certainly try. Maybe next week I will, or soon, the next few days, because people wanted to talk about report rate and they wanted me to try it with Bluetooth. So I will try it. Wacom drivers, so I tested 6.4.9-2, which is the first version that supports both tablets. Now there are two Wacom applications, Wacom tablet properties and Wacom Center. Well, this is gonna be rough for some of you because I know lots of people have problems with the Wacom Center because it's unstable, finicky, and sometimes just doesn't load or crashes. You really have to use the Wacom Center with the new tablet. The old Wacom Tablet Properties app doesn't give you all the same features for the new tablet. You've got to use Wacom Center. So if you're thinking about upgrading and you hate the Wacom Center, you're gonna have to learn to live with it. If the Wacom Center is not working, there's nothing you can do. You gotta wait for Wacom to fix it, okay? That's a problem. So the Wacom Center, actually I like the way it's going. Now that most of the settings for this tablet are in the Wacom Center, I like the Wacom Center. TR4. TR4, out of interest, were your tests done with WinTab or Windows Ink? Most, in general, I am always using Windows Ink. Under special circumstances, I use WinTab, right? I think and when I do, I'll tell people. In every video I've done, I've used Windows Ink. The cases where I use WinTab are specialty tests where I need to control things. So, for example, when I'm measuring pressure curves or pressure response graphs, or I'm demonstrating certain implementations of pressure curves I have custom apps, and to implement my custom apps, my testing apps, I use Windows Ink because it's easier to program with. But yeah, for normal usage, I use Windows Ink. Okay, where was I with this thing? Okay, so this is the tablet with the Wacom Center. I use 4 different pens, so you see 4 different pens here. And there are 4 options here: express keys, dials, mapping, and a display toggle. I'll just show you a few key places. You'll need to know about the mapping tab because that's where you'll turn on force proportions and where you select it to map to one display, which is what I always recommend. Hang on, I see some WinTab hate out there. Hey, I love WinTab. I love WinTab. I'm gonna tell you the secret. I'm starting to really appreciate what WinTab is after programming with it for a while. I even, Wacom, they have a library to use Windows .NET, Microsoft.NET with WinTab, and it's called WinTab.NET. I even forked their GitHub repo and made my own version of WinTab.NET for my apps. So I'm loving WinTab, and I have to do some research, but here's what I think. If you go to Wacom's page on WinTab and Windows Ink, they actually say using WinTab is better for some interesting reasons, most of which seem to have to deal with developers, but I think WinTab can enable better performance than Windows Ink. But I need to do more research on that. And I'm sad also if WinTab is dying, but unfortunately I think it may have to be going because it's kind of weird that you have to install this driver, which has kernel level components in Windows. I just want Windows to work with tablets. If it did, then I wouldn't care about WinTab. Okay, the other place is you click on the pen, you click on advanced, then you get tip sensitivity, that's the pressure curve. And then also under advanced, you'll see Windows Ink. So keep that in mind, Windows Ink is on the pen, not the tablet. And then, people ask me, could you turn it upside down and use and you can. On the main tablet page, there's these 4 things where orientation buttons. So you can click, I don't know, which one is it? This one. That puts the express keys on the bottom. I tried it, worked totally fine. Did it feel weird physically to have my hand touching the express keys? Of course, I disabled the express keys. Yeah, it did, so that is weird. But it works fine this way. It totally works fine. Texture sheets, I mentioned earlier in this stream, Intuos Pro had 2 sizes and 3 textures. Now we've got 3 sizes and 1 texture. So it's good we have now all 3 sizes, but we're gonna be staying with the standard texture. And if you're gonna get this tablet, buy texture sheets. If you're gonna stay with the Intuos Pro 2017, especially buy texture sheets because you can keep your tablet working for a long time. And the texture sheets look different. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to order the wrong texture sheet. You can tell which ones are which because the older ones have the cutouts for the express keys and dials. The new ones don't. Okay, pen compatibility, surprisingly interesting topic. Wacom lists, besides the Pro Pen 3, they made this list. And I think this is a confusing list. It's not inaccurate. Well, actually, there is one inaccuracy here, I think. But it's not a good way of explaining this topic of which pens you can use with the tablet. This is my way of explaining. The pens are grouped by family or technology generation. You can tell whether I tested it or not and which tablet it should work with. So let's start at the top. The latest pens, the most recent generation, is what I call high performance pen, professional pens. This is the Pro Pen 3. It works with only the Intuos 2025. And yes, I tested it, of course. The next is the set of pens called pens that use Wacom EDMR. Complicated to talk about, but in essence, the answer is yes, though it's kind of like it depends. I am going to spend a lot more time on it in just a minute. Then we have what I call high performance professional pens from the previous generation. This is the Pro Pen 2 generation. Of course, I tested the Pro Pen 2. I tested 6 units. They worked on both tablets, of course. Now, I did not test the Pro Pen Slim and Pro Pen 3D. I don't have them, but they should work on both tablets. I'm very confident, and that's because Wacom actually says Pro Pen 2 includes those 2 pens. So they're part of the same technology generation, so that's fine. Then we get the professional pens from an even earlier generation, which are the Grip Pen, Pro Pen, Art Pen, and the Airbrush Pen. I tested the Grip, I tested the Art Pen, I tested the Pro Pen. Not Pro Pen 2, the original Pro Pen. And I have all these, I tested, they work with both tablets. Please notice the exact model numbers because there are some Grip Pens, which I think, for example, there's an Art Pen or a Grip Pen, which is a different model number, that's an older generation, won't work. Airbrush Pen. Wacom on their site says it's compatible with Intuos Pro 2025. I saw a video from someone, Billy, which is China's version of YouTube. It didn't work. So, question mark, needs more time, needs more research. Could be because the pen was defective. It could be because the driver was not updated. Could be lots of reasons. So that's the one question mark. Finally, for those of you who use some tablets come with these other consumer pens from Wacom, and I call them high performance consumer pens because they're way better than Wacom UD-EMR pens. This is the Wacom 4K pen and Wacom 2K pen. Wacom never said they're compatible with either tablet. I have both pens, I tested them. They are not compatible with either tablet. So just wanted to make sure you knew that because I do get questions about these pens. Okay, now what about Wacom UD-EMR? UD-EMR stands for Universal Digitizer. Now, Wacom does not use this word. It's kind of historical. And the thing about UD-EMR is, I read on a webpage, I had to find it, or maybe on a Reddit post. There are 2 generations of UD-EMR, like an older one and a newer one. I think what the webpage was saying is the second generation, more or less, they're all compatible with, or if they're compatible with one Wacom tablet, then all of them are compatible with that Wacom tablet. And likewise, if a Wacom, how can I say it? If tablet A works with a UD-EMR pen, then tablet B that uses UD-EMR should also work with that pen. Now, I don't have any of the pens Wacom listed, but I have a whole bunch of other ones. I have 4 of the Samsung S Pens that came with the many versions of the S Pen, so you have to be specific. 4 that came with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S series, one S Pen Creator Edition, 1 S Pen that came with the Samsung S24 Ultra phone, that's a little tiny one there, and 4 Wacom CP913 pens. They came with the Wacom One 2019 pen display, and 3 Wacom CP923 pens that came with the Wacom 2023 pen displays and pen tablets. Guess what? All of these worked. With the 2025 Intuos Pro, none of them work, of course, with the 2017 Intuos Pro. So why do I spend so much time talking about these pens? It's not because they're great pens. They're not. They don't have a great drawing experience. They have a higher IAF. They have a lower maximum pressure. They're straight. Some only have one button. I think some of them only have zero. They have 0 buttons. The stroke quality is fine. It's okay. And again, not all UDMR pens are compatible, but the ones I listed are. Many of them are. The real reason to talk about these pens is that they're really cheap. UDMR pens go for like $30, maybe $40. Not super cheap, but compared to $130 and $80 for the Pro Pen 3 and 2, very cheap. So if you're gonna get the 2017 tablet, consider getting 1 or 2 of these S Pens, because in a backup, great to have one of these. Yeah, it doesn't draw as well, but it is a good alternative. Like, and maybe if you're traveling, remember I lost Pro Pen 2s while traveling. Great to have these while traveling, okay? Because you can lose them and not feel too bad about the loss. Again, not great drawing experience, but so nice to have a backup. Okay, Nick Tyler is here. Thank you, Nick, for showing up. So happy to see you. Okay, hello. I missed 2 hours of stream, which explained why I should spend $500 for the new PTH 870 and throw my beloved PTH 860. And another, shorter box doesn't cost that much. It's only like $280 or $250 because new dial sucks. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this topic. I didn't address it in the core video. I said I'd write it up, but I'm gonna talk about a topic head on in this video. Let me just get through a few more things and we'll get to that topic. Okay, so this is the summary of the video. Now we'll answer questions and Nick will address that topic deeply. Here's my take. At the end of the day, the 2025 Medium and the entire 2025 series, it is an excellent tablet. It has an excellent drawing performance, which it maintains from the previous generation. And there's many quality of life improvements, okay? But it's gonna be a challenge to upgrade. If you have the 2017 edition, multi-touch is gone. Some of you are gonna hate the express keys and the bezels are gonna interfere. If you're gonna buy this tablet, whether you have the old one or not, try to go see if you can try one out. Maybe a friend has one. Maybe there's a retail store that has one. Maybe you can just try a tablet that has small bezels before you make a decision, okay? You don't need to worry about drawing performance, it's excellent. Now, let's address Nick's question. And I had a slide that at least hinted towards how I was gonna do this, okay? Now, if you don't have one, I'd recommend the 2025. I mean, as long as you understand what you're getting. But there's lots of factors to consider. And I am gonna do a write-up, but since Nick joined us and asked this question, I'm gonna be blunt. If you have the 2017 edition, and by the way, let me just back up. This is my advice in general in life for pen tablets, okay? If you have a tablet and you are happy with it, and you're doing, art that you like with it, and everything is working, don't upgrade, right? If you're happy, stay happy, don't upgrade. Only upgrade if you have a serious problem. Maybe your tablet's not working anymore, or it's wearing out, like physically disintegrating, or a pen, something is going wrong. Or you have high confidence that you're getting something better with the new edition. So now specifically, if you have the Intuos Pro 2017 edition, the PTH 660 for Nick, do not upgrade. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. The drawing performance is not any better. You might not like the ergonomics of the smaller bezels. You might not like the ergonomics of the new express keys. Are there some improvements? Yeah, you get more drawing surface area. But besides that, you get what? A tablet that occupies less space on your desk and that has a little bit less texture as you draw. The 2017 edition is an excellent tablet. If you have it, the vast majority of you should probably just keep it. There's not a strong reason by default to upgrade. Okay, I know it sounds a bit harsh to Wacom, it isn't intended to be, but I have to be realistic, okay? This part may sound harsh. It refined things. They could have done more. They could have done more. They could have given you 2 pens. They could have added barrel rotation. They could have given you like interesting features, but they made quality of life improvements. Okay, so this isn't even, you know, sometimes people talk about revolutionary changes and evolutionary changes. This isn't even an evolutionary change. This is a refinement of what you already have. And in some cases, you're not going to like the refinements because you lost things, okay? So I don't think most of you, I wouldn't recommend upgrading. And I'll make a video and write these notes down. Let's see. Let me get back to this topic. Nizio Martin says, instead of buying UDMR pen for backup, you might as well get the grip pen for $15 more. Yeah, the grip pen is, I think you mean $15 more than the art pen. It's a great pen. Hey, trust me, I recommend getting multiple pens because you never know when you're going to need them. Is it only, so are you saying the grip pen is $15 more than UDMR pen, or are you saying it's $15 more than the Pro Pen 2? Could you clarify that? Nizio/Martin. And let's see, Nick has a comment here. What? You may be surprised. They were and are charging $120 for Pro Pen 2 in many regions. Wow. That's, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Robbery? No way should they be charging that much. You know, sorry, I'm ranting. I honestly think professional pens at most should cost $80. I think they should cost $50. Of course, everyone wants things cheaper, right? But like, they're not changing the tech. They're cheaply, it doesn't cost them that much to make. Huion's pens are relatively expensive for non-Wacom pens. They cost $50. XP pen, their XP Pro pen costs like either $30 or $40. So like, we can get lower, folks. Let's see. Especially now that the new model is out, you're probably going to start seeing the 2017 huge discounts. That's absolutely true. And those of you, you may not know, so I'm going to show it to you, just because, you know, I always say I have a web page for everything. I also have, oh, well, not quite true, but I have a video for everything. So let's just try used. So I actually have an entire video on buying a used Wacom Intuos professional pen tablet. And it's an 18-minute video. I think it's a little dated. I need to update this because I've learned a lot. This was made back in when? June 2022. I've learned a lot, and I think I would redo this video, but look through it if you're gonna buy a used pen tablet. Because I go through so many topics that you should pay attention to about. Make sure you know how good the texture is. Make sure you ask the seller to show you a video of it working. Lots of things and issues you'll run into. So the first example is, and it's related to Nick's comment about the 2017 model. Okay, sorry, I'm jumping topics here, but they're very related. Let's suppose you want to buy a used 2017 model because they're cheaper, as Nizio says. A perfectly normal internet user says. And they're gonna be much cheaper because, you know, a lot of artists are I gotta have the latest and greatest, and they're gonna get it, and they're gonna sell their Intuos Pro 2017, right? Because of course, the newest one must be better. Okay, so here's the deal. let's suppose you buy one used or you have one. How much longer can you continue using it? Okay, and now again, I will make a video on this topic. Here's what is going to happen. There's good and bad here. Number one, stock up on texture sheets, okay? Because they're in short supply, probably they're in decent supply right now. Get 2 or 3 of them. You're not going to go through a texture sheet a year. Like, it's going to take some years, okay? What I'm aiming for is to let you use your tablet for another decade, okay? Meaning, I want you to be able to use your Intuos Pro 2017 at least until 2035. So get some texture sheets, that's number one. Protect your investment. So sometimes I've actually bought used Intuos Pro 2017s that are scratched up. Just buy a new texture sheet for $30, like brand new, great. Number 2, buy backup pens. Now you can't use UDMR pens, but as someone suggested, get a grip pen, get 2 or 3 of them. Okay, because what's gonna happen is Wacom, right now the supply is good. There's Pro Pen 3s available everywhere. They might even be still being made. But at some point Wacom will stop making them if they haven't stopped producing them now. In good supply, you'll find them on eBay easily, you'll find them on Amazon, and etc. But the supply can only dwindle, okay? Get backups, okay? Get 2 or 3. Because they'll just, trust me, they'll rise in price. I mean, I look at eBay and some of the older Wacom pens, especially ones that are special, the art pen, I think I saw one time going for $200, $250. There's one Wacom pen we were looking at on the Discord. I think originally, it's a really old pen. It's not even an art pen. It's something even before that, like in 2002 or 3. It was going on eBay originally for $700. Now I think the reason it's really special because I think it has a metal body. I think that was the reason. But the seller discounted it to $500. So that was crazy. But anyway, I don't think old Pro Pens will go for that much, but they're gonna disappear over time. Not in a few years, but it'll happen. Okay, so texture sheets, more pens. Okay, those are gonna protect your investment. Buy extra nibs. Especially if you go through nibs, buy extras because again, Wacom will stop manufacturing them. There's 3 things. Okay, 4 things. Wacom is going to do one more thing. They're going to turn off support of the drivers. Okay, they are going to. One day you're going to install version 3.xyz, and when you start up the tablet driver, it's going to say, and you're going to plug in your tablet, and it's going to say, you've plugged in an incompatible tablet. Please buy a new tablet. Literally, that's what it literally says. Something very close to that. And you're going to be furious. And some of you are thinking, well, I just won't upgrade to the new driver. Well, here's what's going to happen. I apologize for this on behalf of this company, but Microsoft Windows is going to make an update, and Apple is going to update Apple OS. And one of those changes is going to break the tablet driver. Guaranteed it'll happen. It may not even be something specific to tablets. It may be a security update, like something like they're going to close some vulnerability in the Windows Ink API. Who knows? And it's going to break, if you don't use the latest driver, it's going to break Photoshop. Like buttons aren't going to work or pressure's not going to work. I've seen this happen, by the way. And you're going to have to use a new driver. And the minute you do, Wacom, and again, Wacom's newest driver is going to not support the Intuos Pro 2017. And so you're going to be stuck. Now, the good news is you're okay. And in fact, you're going to be okay for decades because you can use something called Open Tablet Driver. Yes, it's more complicated to install and configure, but you can use Open Tablet Driver. As Cube one time wrote, Open Tablet Driver gives life to your old tablets. If you've got old tablets even now that aren't working because of the driver issue, or because they're old maybe, you can use Open Tablet Driver. Open Tablet Driver supports 200 tablets. And I've used it with the Intuos Pro 2017. It works perfectly. Again, it requires more setup. I have a long doc explaining how to install it and configure it, but that's your lifeline. So that's the worst that'll happen is you'll have to switch my Open Tablet Driver, okay? So the Wacom Intuos Pro 2017 is not limited by how long it'll work with the operating system. It's just gonna be limited by how long accessories last. And if you buy stock up on them now, I think you can be good for 10 more years of using that tablet, if at least. And just so you know, Open Tablet Driver, I literally used a tablet from, I think, 1995 and 1996, a couple of months ago. It worked fine. Speaking of which, slight diversion, remember I told you that UDEMR was this Wacom thing and you can use these tablets? That 1995 tablet has a UDEMR pen. I used it with the Intuos Pro 2025. Pressure and I think tilt and pressure worked. Yes, it has a high initial activation force, but it worked. And that was, I think that was the ArtPad 2. So ancient tablet from Wacom. It worked, okay? Okay, let's get to some comments now. That went on a real rant there. I love tablet rants. That's my hobby. Talking about bezels, I have some experience with them and I have a comment on this. When you work with small strokes, fingers, wrist, your hand is on line of surface and hitting a step is death. Yes, 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 yes. I can totally see that. But working on large surface, I use shoulder, elbow to move and wrist is not touching tablet at all. So bezels don't matter in this case. You must float the pen. Okay, I get it. That's a different way of drawing. I try to be, but I'm not as much as I should be as an elbow, shoulder mover, right? Especially shoulder. I've gotten better because of large tablets, but I used to be a pure finger drawer, if that makes sense, just like this. The grip pen is $40 to $45 on Amazon. Oh, wow, I did not know that. And I am going to, thank you, Nizio Martin. I am going to absolutely get a few extra ones because that's excellent. That's excellent. I will add that to my update. So whenever I make a video, I try to have written notes. I'm gonna put up the written notes over the next few days. Should be available in a week or so. And I'm gonna specifically mention the grip pen. I had no clue they're $40 to $50. I'm gonna buy like 3. No joking, I'm gonna buy 3. Wanna hear something nasty? They charge, what? Nick, am I seeing this correctly? $5,000 USD for new Cintiq 27? This can't be, no, where is this? This can't be real. This cannot be real. Is it on Amazon? Let's take a look at this. Okay, let's just try Wacom store first. Let's see, let's start with the movement, why not? Okay, it's still $750 here. Where are you seeing that price? Is it on Amazon? Let me take a look. Or are you talking in a different country? Amazon.com. See, someone's on the Discord. Let's make sure I don't. Let's see, and Martin has provided a link in the Discord for the grip pen seller. Martin, thank you. I'm gonna click on it right now. Let's take a look here for the grip pen. And Nick, can you send the link for where you saw those prices? I would love to see this. Top of level, I'll answer your question in just a second. Where is that darn link? That's in. Oh, I see. Martin put it to me in the chat. Okay, I'll share it because it's in our private chat. But I will, actually, let me click on it on my iPad. You know, if someone sent me a message in the private chat, I'm not gonna click on it, but if it's in the live stream, oh, $47. Yeah, okay. Let's see, I will try to see if I can get this. I'll try to see if I can get this. Okay, let's get back to this on Amazon. Cintiq Pro. It's the tariff issue, is it? Okay, I'm still seeing 2000, well, that's 17, sorry. Those 3,000, this is about what I expect. I'm not sure why this one's cheaper. That's weird. Well, yeah, Nick, where are you seeing these prices? I'd love to know. Let's take a look at some of the questions. Yeah, Cameron Lynn is asking the right question. Is it USD or Canadian? I sent a link. Thanks, Nizio, for the link. I appreciate it. I think this price works with I think it's AUDs, Australia dollars, right? Hey, while we're talking about Australia, I have some announcement. It's not really about Australia. It's just there's someone from Australia who has influenced me to make a change, and it's actually Tablet Kitten, who I don't think is on the stream. And I have resisted this change for quite a while. I have, you know, decades. But I'm formally announcing that I'm switching from imperial to metric. Yeah, that's my change. So while preparing this video, I was listing every unit in both, you know, millimeters and inches. And the tables were looking so ugly, I have decided, for the good of all mankind, I will switch to the metric system, or what do they call it, System International. And for henceforth, I will use centimeters and, what do they call them? Millimeters. I will use inches for the tablet diagonal width also, but that's the only case, okay? So, a little bit of standardization for 7 pence. Because my Discord was like all over me, like, hey, you gotta switch to, you know, stop using imperial, okay? Okay, so, oh yeah, so we're talking about 2017 open tablet driver. The tablet's gonna work forever, okay? The tablet's gonna work forever. Keep using it. And I think I am gonna switch to the 2025 edition. I'm gonna get the large, I'm gonna get the small, I wanna get the entire family of Intuos Pro 25 for 2 reasons. Number one, I just think people expect me to have all 3. Number 2, people ask questions about specific models, so I want to be able to answer the questions. That's how I ended up with 80 tablets. Number 3 or 4, I think I got to maintain credibility, and if I'm just guessing what the different sizes do, you know, I don't think that makes me a very credible person. But yeah, if you're getting back to Nick's ultimate thing, 2017 user, PTH 660 or 860 or 460, don't bother. Don't bother. I don't, especially if you like, you know, the express keys and you like those bezels or touch. This is not an upgrade, it's a side grade, right? And I don't mean to, you know, be too critical of Wacom. It's a great tablet, but just, I think it's headed in a direction we didn't expect, right? And Cami Luna has a comment. Thank you for joining us, Cami Luna. It's always great to see you. I always like your avatar, Cami Luna. It's a really cute looking avatar. It reminds me of like a Muppet, like from Jim Henson's The Muppets with Kermit the Frog. So it brings back good memories for me. But is it a character you designed, or is it? I'd love to learn more. Cami Luna, tablet models are numbered according to inches when most of the tablet uses metrics. It's so weird. Yeah, I think this is a holdover, of course, from the United States, and we've always described televisions, especially in inches. or monitors. So that legacy has continued, and it's really hard to get away from inches psychologically for people, especially my age, because folks, I'm in my 50s, and you just say inches, you just think that way a lot. In fact, just to let you know, it is so it's on the. I always just know intuitively. Do you know how many inches? Do you know how many feet are in a mile? 5,280. See, for some Americans who use imperial measurements, just rolls off the tongue. It's just the most natural number in the world. 5,280 feet in a mile. But I'm trying to switch. Yeah, heights. Yeah, I still use. I said I'm 6 feet tall. I don't know what that is in your metric world, but it just confuses me. Centimeters confuse me. I can deal with millimeters. I have finally adopted millimeters for sure. I can deal with that. And I'm starting to become more familiar with centimeters. But when people give their heights as I'm 1.78 centimeters or 1.78 meters, don't know what that means. It always sounds really, it doesn't mean anything to me actually. Okay, we've gone through the video. I think we've gone through all the major topics. Again, I'm going to focus another video on 2017 versus 2025. Should you upgrade? I may update my my buying used. Oh, Camilin has replied. Oh, thank you. It's a character I designed for my video game streams, heavily inspired by Lakitu from Super Mario Brothers series. I'll post some artwork. Please do. I love people to tell me that, to show their artwork. And you weren't here earlier, Camilina, but I actually, I highlighted Nazio Martin's artwork. So, by the way, I'll open this up to any of my streams, honestly. If you put some artwork on the React, and React means you want me to react to it, I am more than happy to let people see your artwork. And the ultimate aim for all my work is to help people create art. And if through my live streams or the channel in the Discord, I can, if you're okay with sharing it, share it. I'm totally happy in letting people see it. I'd love to see your work, Camilla, and I'd love to see everyone's work. 6 foot in centimeters is 100. Okay, that's me. Okay, so I'm 182 centimeters. Okay, now I know. So 2 meters must be pretty tall then. 2 meters must be like 6'4", I guess. Oh, sorry, I don't know. Okay, 2 meters must be very tall. Okay, I think we're good. I think we've got all the major topics out. We've been going for almost 3 hours now. Thank you, everybody. And before I wrap up the stream, I just want to share a few of the videos I have planned and content I have planned. Number one, I'm going to write down my notes from this review. Number two, I'm going to write up my notes, maybe do a video or a stream on Intuos Pro 2017 and Intuos Pro 2025. It's basically going to be some of the topics that I said here as I responded to Nick's question, but maybe a little more detailed, where I talk about the supplies you're going to have to need to maintain and Open Tablet Driver. I am late on a bunch of review videos, like super late, and related other videos. So I got to do the review of the Move Ink 13. I've got to do the Huion Canvas 16 Gen 3. I have to do the XP Pen Artist Pro 22 Gen 2, which is a tablet I love. Right now, the best 22-inch pen display besides the Cintiq Pro 22. And there's a couple of other tablets people have been asking about that I got to get some attention on. I have a big video planned on Windows Ink, which is the, what do you call it? What's a good word for it's a word for like nightmare? For bane of existence? Windows Ink is the bane of my existence, or tablet users on Windows, and the ongoing war we have with Windows Ink and how it messes up our world. I got a video planned on that, and WinTab. And then I have a video and document planned on diagonal wobble, one of my classic things. So lots of stuff coming and many more streams. And if people have suggestions, oh, I'll give you a suggestion. This was from Nazio, I believe, last night. This was a cool one. I hadn't even thought of this. Let me give you I think the conversation, the way it's, sorry, this thing came off again. The way it started was as follows. I think we were chatting about these smaller bezels here, and I thought, maybe, and he suggested, you could make an extension bezel. And I thought, yeah, I could print something out. And he suggested, do a video or live stream on mods, like mods people have created. And I have seen some crazy mods. There are simple mods like people have made, crazy grips out of tape, or custom 3D printed grips for pens, or, my mod would be a bezel, right? Which I want to 3D print. What's another mod? So I saw someone take an Intuos 4 tablet, rip it apart, reassemble it with RGB lighting. Look, new button, it looked cool as hell. You wouldn't believe, now they didn't change the electronics, but you gotta see this to believe it. So you know what, that's what we'll do. My next stream will be one on tablet and pen mods, and just drawing mods. Maybe we'll even consider mods for people to put on their desk. Like, I don't know, maybe you've 3D printed something to hold your pens, whatever, things like that I have. So that'll be my next video. Maybe I'll do that later in the week, because I just want to get back into, because I've been so busy lately, get back into talking to you all and just having a good time on the stream. Okay, with that, I want to say thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure with this stream. It's been a pleasure, as always, talking to you and seeing your artwork and getting your comments and your perspectives, okay? And so have a great day, and please join our Discord. I'll paste the link as in the stream in a second, just before I close the stream. So everyone, thank you all, and have a great day. And I will see you soon.